Hello everyone and welcome to the How to Adult podcast. This is episode 3 and once again I'm joined by Tom and Jack. How are we, lads?
Heyo!
I'm good. Yeah, my hand hurts, but I'm good.
Yeah.
In a world full of podcasts and Jack's hands hurting.
Jack's hurt himself this week. So lads, we're going to do a little bit of a more specialised episode like we did 2 weeks ago with the Star Wars episode. This one is going to be solely focused on video games, a genre of the media that we love quite a lot. So let's begin with something very simple. What games have we played in the last couple of weeks? Tom, I'll come to you because obviously very recently you did a live stream of Star Trek Online. Is that what you've been focusing on most recently?
It's sort of my go-to. People like Star Trek, so I sort of just mess around in an MMO for a bit when I'm doing live streams. But been doing a lot of... I'm going back and doing the main Assassin's Creed 1 series. The Assassin's Creed series, so I'm starting back at Assassin's Creed 1, and I've been playing that through recently.
Okie dokie. Jack, what have you been playing?
Yeah. I feel like I'm gonna get hate for this, but Smite, that's fine. Smite's fine. We're playing a lot of bit of that. Apex Legends, of course.
Apex.
And the third one, Genshin Impact.
No idea what that is.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna get hate for
You're
that,
dead to me.
Oh, there we go.
No, in all
okay.
seriousness, I don't actually know what it is. It's just you were expecting it, so I
It's
thought I might provide it.
no, it's a free-to-play game, but it's also one of the gacha games, but not fully like a gacha game, so it's like a half between the two of them. It's one that's on mobile, but it's also on PC and PS4. And it plays a lot like... I've never played it, but I've heard a lot of people say it plays a lot like Breath of the Wild.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, I've just been, like, glued to that, because I've been playing with some friends on it for ages, and it's really fun.
Oh, okay.
Especially for a free game.
Right,
And it's one of the gachas you don't actually have to spend money on. It makes you want to for characters, but you don't have to at all, and it's really easy to earn all the stuff that you need.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at a footage of it. It does look a bit similar to Breath of the Wild. But then again, that is like a lot of those style of JRPGs. It's that wide open landscape, lots of room to cover, basically. I do want to quickly touch on or have a proper discussion on some of these. So we'll start, Tom, with the Assassin's Creed. So the first one you're playing through.
Yes.
Have you played the first Assassin's Creed before?
I've played them all apart from Odyssey.
Okay.
And Liberations, because when that first came out, it was on the PS Vita only.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has since expanded, and I've managed to get it with the Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered Edition. It came free with that, so which is pretty cool.
That's some dedication to the series.
Yeah,
boy.
he's a big Assassin's Creed guy.
It is my all-time favourite game series.
Fair.
So two things. So firstly, why did you want to go back and play the first one?
I didn't. I wanted to go back and play the Ezio collection, but I
okay.
thought if I'm doing the full series, I should probably do all the games.
Just to keep the Besman storyline.
Yeah, it's basically I'm eating the greens before dessert.
Oh, okay.
So,
I see.
Play the very, very first game, get through that, and then after that I can have fun.
Yeah.
I love that. Did you want to play the first game? No, I didn't.
No, it's not that it's a bad game. All right, it is a really good game.
It's the most linear of the series.
It's just not why because it's number one.
Yes, because it was a proof of concept essentially in terms of the the historical setting for this new franchise, which we need to remember that it was a long time ago. What's a decade, almost decade and a half now since that first one came out. It's 2007. Yeah. The idea of walking around a historical city was not completely alien, but quite alien to a lot of gamers at that point. Jack, have you ever played the first Assassin's Creed? Like, how much of this Assassin's Creed trilogy or Assassin's Creed series, I should say, have you played?
I have not played many of them. I've only played Assassin's Creed 3.
Oh my god!
I think that one and Black Flag.
I mean,
3 I wasn't the biggest fan of.
I was going to say 3 is probably the worst one to start with.
Yeah, I got. The only reason I played three words. The only reason I played 3 was because it came out free on PlayStation Plus back on the PS3. So that's the only reason I started playing that one, and I was like, oh yeah, it's fine to go through. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst. And Black Flag, I think, was the same. I originally got it free on PS Plus for PS3, and then I rebought it on PS4.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, I loved Black Flag so much. Less for the Assassin's Creed part, more for the pirate part.
Just
to
answer your question, Sam. The initial release date of Assassin's Creed 1 was the 13th of November, 2007. So yeah, long time.
Yeah, it'll be 15 years next year. My God.
Yes.
So I wanted to, I want to go back to you, Tom, in terms of, so you're saying that you probably want to start with the Ezio is where you wanted to go back to playing. Which is your favourite Assassin's Creed? Because, the Ezio collection is... Brotherhood, okay.
Brotherhood.
Yeah, I can get on board, with that. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is fantastic.
Brotherhood is my number one Assassin's Creed game, just all over.
Yeah.
I've heard very good things about that one. Everyone seems to just love Brotherhood when you bring it up.
It's beautiful.
I
mean, they followed over the same game mechanics in Revelations, but the story was a bit weird, and you were no longer... You were literally playing as an Italian assassin, not in Italy anymore.
In Turkey and Constantinople at that time.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, the interesting thing, though, about Brotherhood... Okay, so... Jack, are you aware of at least of the story and the history kind of Assassin's Creed, as much as you've only played 2 of them?
To an extent, like a little bit. I know just because it pops up all the time. Like everywhere you go, every now and then Assassin's Creed, especially Brotherhood, is going to pop up somewhere.
Yeah. So
yes,
a little bit of backstory for this. Okay, so the first one is obviously set in the holy city of Jerusalem, I think, if I remember rightly.
In the area of you travel, I think there's 2 cities that you travel between, plus another town that like Masyaf, which is where the assassin headquarters is.
Yeah. So you're playing there as Altair ibn Nilhad, is that his name? I believe it's an Arabic name, isn't it?
Yes.
And that was
Alad Haban, something like that.
I can't quite recall, but yeah. So at that time, as I said, it was very new to be playing in a. Because especially at the time in 2007, this was the early days of the 360 had been out for a year and a half. The what did you say the release date was again, Tom?
2007.
No, the release date in terms of what time in the year?
13th of November.
November, okay, so
quite late.
Yeah, so the Xbox was 2 years old, and the PlayStation 3 was a year old.
Well, I mean, the first Assassin's Creed wasn't actually supposed to be Assassin's Creed. It was initially proposed and designed as a Prince of Persia game.
Yes, of course, because
it was
Ubisoft
Prince of Persia
them
Assassins. Yeah, Prince of Persia Assassins, which was supposed to be the follow-up to the first. Was it the first or the second Prince of Persia game?
There's been like
it was so off to one side and so like that it just went off on a tangent so much that they just decided to bring it its own, call it its own series and do its own thing as opposed to putting it in the Prince of Persia universe.
I was going to say in terms of because obviously the thing was at the time it was we'd had on the Xbox side we had Halo 3 I think had come out earlier that year. Obviously there was Gears of War. You had Oblivion was out by that time. A lot of games, and Assassin's Creed, the first one, can be lumped into this, that changed the face of a generation of consoles. Because suddenly, because as you say, Tom, it's meant to be originally part of the Prince of Persia games. And also, I'm pretty sure I remember that Ubisoft took quite a risk with that because they were so unsure of how it was going to perform. And because it ended up being such a success, not only obviously did they make a franchise out of it, which obviously was partly down to the fact that the story was, they had to break it up for how they were. I think they did write it as 3 games, but then Ezio got a spin-off of them. But, it became such a success that so many games in the industry ended up following that very similar gameplay mold. But, the first Assassin's Creed is a phenomenal game. But as you say, Assassin's Creed 2 is where it picks up, because the first one is quite linear in its gameplay. 2, it kind of opens it more up because you've got Florence, you've got then the Tuscan countryside. It's a little bit more open in terms of the spaces you explore in the second game, and Brotherhood. And
then you get to Brotherhood and you're in Rome. You're going all over the place.
The thing with Brotherhood is it was a big surprise in terms of how good it was, because this is when Ubisoft started getting into the annualized franchise form of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of worry that, is this just going to be a repeat of what we saw in the last game? And it was, for the most part. They smartened up the graphics a bit. I think looks-wise, the way it looked at the time, I think Brotherhood looks really, really good. And then they added go on.
It's one of those things where they had one assassin for the first one, they changed it for the second one, and everyone was expecting to change it again for the third, because obviously even like you look at the posters and like advertisement that came out at that time, and obviously Ezio's outfit has changed so much between 2 and Brotherhood that really you could mistake them for being 2 separate people. It wasn't until it actually came out people realized actually it's the same character all the way through.
Yeah. But I was going to say that my thing with Brotherhood is they added it was a simple mechanic, but a mechanic that worked really, really well, was the recruiting of other assassins.
I did like that mechanic. I've seen a little bit of it.
It was such a small addition, but it worked so well with the overall gameplay and the idea of the story context of Ezio going to Rome and trying to recruit people to the Assassin's cause. And then, as you said, Tom, into Revelations, it kind of took a nosedive, because as much as, I think the parkour and the city exploration is as fun as it's always been. I think, the addition of the claw and the zipline is can be neat in some editions, but as you say, the story's a bit kind of all over the place, and the tower defense minigame is god awful.
Sorry, tower defense minigame.
Yeah, there's a tower defense minigame in Revelations, which they tried. It's actually you do a little bit of it in Assassin's Creed 3 actually. When you're stood on the rooftops and you have to defend from the soldiers that are coming, so you put specific people like, you've got a rifle, you go on that roof, you've got a rifle. It was a bit like that, only so much worse. It was so bad.
See, I like a tower defense game, but maybe not in Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
What was also kind of weird is that they added the bombs that you could create, which created so many cool new options for stealth. And it's like, you've got the polar opposites of you've got a really good addition in Film of the Bombs, and then you've got the very, very weird addition of a tower defense minigame that just didn't work.
You win some, you lose some.
Yeah, that's true. Didn't they add I know different game in the series, but didn't they add actual rideable vehicles in Syndicate? With the horses.
So riding of the horses in cities, so because you could ride them in it might have actually been in the first one that you could ride horses outside of major cities.
You can ride. You've been able to ride horses for all of them.
Yeah.
It was just
from Brotherhood. You could do it in cities.
Yeah, because they weren't as closed off. You were basically the story of Brotherhood is you actually managed to make it into cities that have been there for literally hundreds upon hundreds of years. These are the old. It's Rome. It's the old Roman city, and a lot of it was already crumbling by the time the Renaissance came to it, and so they didn't really care what you did. It wasn't until Syndicate where you're in a city where it's been industrialized enough that the roads are wide enough to warrant having carts and stuff around. I mean, in Assassin's Creed 3 there are trader carts and hay bale carts and stuff that they're all AI controlled that travel around the place. And you can hop on them and just ride with wherever they go. But I think Syndicate was the first one where you could actually
control
take
carriages
100% control. I'm gonna say, because there are other there's minor story parts in other ones, but I think that was the first one you could take 100% control of carriages and stuff.
Yeah.
This is of course as long as we're not counting Black Flag, Assassin's Creed 3, and Rogue for ships.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like ships are a different category.
And also, I'm not sure Assassin's Creed 3 counts because you only control the boats in missions, don't you? It's not exploration. Rogue and Black Flag is you get to control the boats in the exploration and the missions.
Well, in 3 it was an experiment. So they say. It was an experiment to see how people would react to having more boat combat in it, because obviously right at the beginning, the whole storyline, like you could have done the entire game without doing the boat missions.
Yeah.
They were not integral to the story. I'm pretty sure only one of them is an actual story mission, but that's just to introduce you to the fact that it's there, and then the rest of it is all side quests. So in an actuality, you could go the entire game without playing a boat mission. If the developers chose not to put it in there, it wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah.
But like they used that as an experiment to see how people would relate to it. Because obviously, at the beginning of Assassin's Creed 3, like the first mission is
you don't play as Connor
assassinating the dude, and then the second mission is you've just gotten off the you're on the boat, like traveling to America.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, so this is a bit of an introduction to like seafaring, and obviously in the time that it's in as well, like it's just after the whole pirates thing has gone away. I mean,
because Hytham is
Edward Kenway's son.
Yeah.
So if you, I don't know if either of you have played Rogue.
I have not. No, I've already been meaning to play it because I love Black Flag.
It is my second favorite of all time. So my top two are like Brotherhood and then Rogue. Rogue is set in a bit of a weird timeline.
Yeah.
In the story there are blackout points. So there are bits that are like, oh, so you finished a mission here, and then it fast forwards like 5 or 10 or however many years to the next point where you play the game. Now, right at the beginning, you're playing as an assassin that works under Achilles at the homestead from Assassin's Creed 3. And you actually meet Adewale, who obviously is Edward Kenway's first mate. Now, you meet Adewale. Adewale is much older at this point. Obviously, it's after the Black Flag DLC with his whole...
I still have to play his DLC, actually.
Yeah, so do I.
But yeah, so he actually comes to visit and you meet him, and that's where the game starts. Now, the game ends right at the beginning. So I don't know if you know the story of Unity. Assassin's Creed Unity? It's the one France.
I have it, and I've only played a little bit. I haven't...
Do you know... Right, so the very opening bit where you are a child and someone kills your parents.
Yeah.
It becomes your dad. Yeah? So, Shay Cormac, the main character of Rogue, assassin turned Templar, turned assassin hunter, is the guy that walks in and kills your dad. And you actually play that mission as the very last mission in Rogue.
Wow.
That's really cool.
And that's how they link that together. And so actually Rogue links together 3, Black Flag, Unity, all into one weird bundle, which is, I think, one of the main reasons as to why it's my up there as my favorite ones.
Yeah.
That is nice.
But it's got such good game mechanics as well. I mean, I get people don't like it because it's like, oh, we're playing Assassin's Creed, but we're playing as a Templar. We didn't like it when we played Haytham, so why would you think we want to play this?
I loved it when you played Haytham. I thought that was really, really, really good as a twist thing.
Here's the cool bit. In Rogue, so in Assassin's Creed 3, in the story, did you complete the story?
Yeah.
Did you notice how they kept referring to there being more members of the core group than there were that you assassinated?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so Shay is actually part of that core group. They had been hinting at it from Assassin's Creed 3. But obviously there were no names or anything because they didn't know that far ahead what they were going to be doing with it. They just knew they were going to have a game to do with something. You actually, most of your missions in Rogue are given to you by Haytham, and then at some point he just disappears, and someone tells you that he's dead, and so you decide that you're going to go off somewhere else now.
Oh, fair.
Because obviously that bit it runs in parallel with when you kill him in Assassin's Creed 3.
But that's really, really cool how they linked that. That's awesome. I need to play this game.
Rogue is by far it will never be my number one. I entered the series on Brotherhood and it will forever be my number one, but Rogue is definitely my next favorite, just because of how good it is.
Yeah.
They really like top off the customization as well. So it's not quite as good as Brotherhood customization, because obviously Brotherhood customization was you could change your outfit's color, but you could literally have whatever weapons you wanted. Like you could go to a blacksmith and buy a different knife
hammer.
or whatever, or a massive hammer or whatever, and you could do that. Obviously, with a lot of the newer games, you can't really do that as much.
It's a lot more restricted.
I say newer games, like Black Flag, Rogue, that era. They were very much, these are the weapon sets. So like Edward Kenway is, you get dual swords and dual pistols. That's just his setup. And so forever, that is what you get. You can choose to change the type of swords, but you get dual swords.
Yeah, I suppose it does make sense a little bit though, just for the time period as well.
Yeah. So like Shay, he gets a sword and an official one is a sword and a stiletto knife. I have since changed that to being a katana and smaller katana. But yeah, so the customization comes more with obviously you get to customize the ship like you do in Black Flag.
Yeah.
And the amount of outfits that are available to you, just like in Black Flag, is amazing.
Are they as cool as the one in Black Flag though? Because I love some of the ones. I know they play off a lot of them as it's the Animus tech, so you can be wearing Ezio's robes or Altair's or Connor's.
No, you can wear any of those. I think actually you can even I think with the one I've got the remastered edition at the moment.
Yeah.
And I was going through because I specifically got the Assassin Hunter outfit.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't get the hood, but you get a mask, so you're immune to smoke bombs and stuff.
Okay.
Oh.
Which is pretty cool. But when I was looking through the costumes, I think there was one on there you could wear. I've forgotten his name. The brother from Syndicate.
Oh.
So you could actually wear one that was from the future. Yeah, Jacob Fry outfit. You could wear one that was actually from the future because obviously Animus tech and stuff.
Yeah, that's quite cool.
It looks weird though because obviously you're walking around surrounded by like pirates and
you're walking around in a bowler hat
in infantry stuff, and I'm stood there with a top hat from London and like that looks like there should be a revolver hanging off my belt, but there isn't. That sort of thing.
And also it's the thing you're playing as an Irishman wearing like the most stereotypical.
I'm playing an Irishman wearing English clothes in the Caribbean.
I do want to play Syndicate at some point, just because I like the setting of it.
Syndicate is definitely not one of my favorites.
Is it one of the worst ones? I feel like it's one of the ones that's like not very story and has a lot of filler missions.
It is. Well, it's not just that. It's certain areas are locked.
Oh.
So certain areas. Well, I say locked. You can go there, but you will die. Is the premise? Like unless you are expert at stealth, as soon as you walk into an area that you don't have friendlies around you and you're not a high enough level for, someone will spot you and instantly come over and try and kill you. And if you're not a high enough level, they will kill you. Like I really struggled with that game because it was a lot of having to grind through a lot of the side quests and stuff.
Yeah.
And if you don't get 100% on each mission, you won't have enough XP to be able to level up to be able to be the right level for areas and to be able to certain missions won't unlock in an area until you reach that level. So you can go there, but there's no missions there.
Can I say one thing though on a point Jack just made about is that the one where it's just full of stuff? That is because this is a big problem that I think Assassin's Creed has probably since after Brotherhood is when Ubisoft really started stepping up the amount of crap they put in their games. Now, Tom, you know my thoughts on Ubisoft. I won't get into that now, but you know,
I was wondering if that was going to come up because we've been talking about.
Here it is.
You know my thoughts on Ubisoft, but I think there's one thing that is unarguable. It's a point that I say veteran games journalist. He's been in the industry for a couple of years. Danny O'Dwyer makes a lot about the believability of video game worlds, and the distinction he makes, and it's a very, very good point. It's one that I've kind of echoed in a couple of articles I've written. In that, when you look at the worlds that Ubisoft creates, so the worlds of Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed, you know, they are worlds very much built around the player. You know, there are systems that are, engineered very specifically to aid the player in the progression of the game. And because of that, you know, it's the old thing of, you know, the old GTA or Bethesda game world thing. It's like, it doesn't feel like when you turn your console off, that world keeps going. Whereas...
I beg to differ for some Rockstar GTAs and stuff.
Okay, what do you mean? Because what I was going to get to is that when you start an Assassin's Creed, when you start a Watch Dogs, when you start something, you know, even go to something like the Arkham series, when you go into the game, when you first are able to step out, there are map markers everywhere. The map is fully explored. You know where everything is, and you can just go there. With something like GTA or something like Bethesda's open world,
you meant like they weren't like that. Gotcha,
yeah, world.
I misunderstood.
Yeah, the world is evolving as you explore it. You know, you're learning. You know, paths through. For example, if it's in GTA 5, you're learning the routes to Mount Chiliad or the road to Fort Zancudo as you explore the world, which makes it feel more real.
Especially Red Dead 2 is just, I feel like the pinnacle of that at the moment. Of just having such a believable and well thought out world that it does just... Like, I need to... The story was amazing.
It's that well thought out that I still don't know my way around.
Yeah,
literally. Like, unless I have unless I like use the minimap and like set a waypoint to an area that I can follow, no idea where I'm going. Absolutely not at all. Just because, it feels like it should. I know there's like the paths and stuff that you can take and try and follow your way around, but I'll probably get lost without the waypoints.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just feels so real.
That's the thing that I always personally, as much as I enjoy some of Ubisoft games, that's the thing I always struggle with in terms of the believability of their game worlds, because, you know, you want to get in something like Watch Dogs 2. I thoroughly enjoy Watch Dogs 2. I love it. It might be one of my favourites from the last couple of years. But I never felt as if the world was, you know, it always, you know, I knew that there were mechanics built into the game that were focused around me playing. And there's also like more subtle stuff to that. So for example, when you're walking around a Watch Dogs or an Assassin's Creed, every single step you take, the pedestrians or the NPCs are looking at you. Their attention is always drawn to you. In something like GTA or most of the interactions you have with NPCs in Bethesda's games, that doesn't happen. They just walk past you going about their average day. You know, it's that, you know, I've said it a lot, but it's that making the world feel more real, making it feel like when you turn your console off or your PC off, the world continues going. You know, you feel like maybe you're missing something, you know, if you've got the game turned off.
I mean,
I
I'm
fully get what you mean.
I'm always missing something, whether it's GTA or like. If I'm playing a game, I'm missing something. There's something wrong.
Yeah, but I was also going to say, so obviously, you know, so Tom's been playing Assassin's Creed, the first one. I've got a feeling he's looking forward to when he gets to Turn Brotherhood, when he eventually gets round to it.
Don't.
Just waiting for that moment.
Just to come back to a point you just made before we move on. You said about the amount of stuff that Ubisoft come out with, like just regularly.
What do you mean in regard to that?
Because you said just the sheer amount of things that Ubisoft create over a short period of time.
Yeah. So you know, the annualization of their franchise and the fact that a lot of their games follow a very, very similar game model.
Oh, okay.
Like FIFA.
I just, you know, going off of they release quite a lot of content. Not really caring if it's good or not. There are 12. Well, there are counted as 12 Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah.
There are 22 items that have been released with the Assassin's Creed name.
Yeah, because I'm guessing the 12 Assassin's Creed don't include stuff like the DS games and the mobile games and all that stuff.
It's 12 Assassin's Creeds.
So there's mobile games?
12 Assassin's Creeds, plus 10 spin-off games, and they're the ones that are all accessible by consoles. That's not.
Oh yeah, because I forget about
that's not including the phone game.
I forget about the Chronicles series and stuff like that. Yeah.
Chronicles is only counted as 1 on this list.
Really?
Not 3. Yeah, the other spin-offs are Altair Chronicles.
Okay. Never heard of that before.
Bloodlines.
That's DS, or is that DS or a PSP game? I can't remember which one.
And then there's Assassin's Creed 2 Discovery.
Yeah, that's a DS game, I'm pretty sure, because that was released just before 1 came out. Or sorry, 2 came out, I think.
Yeah, there's Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation, which we've already talked about, was PS Vita and is now included.
And I do want to quickly touch on that, because that had a really interesting mechanic that I wish more of the Assassin's Creed games played into.
Don't spoil it for me.
Okay.
Are you waiting to play it?
I haven't played that one yet.
I won't say anything, but what I will say is there is a point you'll get to in that game, Tom, where there's a mechanic that you'll see and think, why was this not included in the rest of the franchise?
Probably. I run into that mechanic. I run into mechanics like that in pretty much every Assassin's Creed game. It's like, why have you not carried this on?
Yeah.
Ships.
You haven't played Valhalla yet.
Yeah, I haven't played Valhalla. To be fair, I don't really like the aesthetic of Valhalla because, unlike most people, I'm not super into the whole Viking thing. So it's kind of an off-put for me.
Understandable.
Because it seems like there's a massive rise in that at the moment with like Valheim and Valhalla coming out, and a lot of other things where everyone's like obsessed over the Viking kind of aesthetic and style, and I'm just not too bothered by it.
Fair.
Not too big on it. Yeah.
Other spin-offs are Assassin's Creed Pirates.
Oh, bloody
Assassin's Creed Memories Part 1 and Memories Part 2.
God.
These are games I've never heard of. What?
Assassin's Creed Chronicles, which is the 3 installments, obviously China, India, and Russia. Assassin's Creed Identity, and Assassin's Creed Rebellion. And that is in order of release as well.
Ubisoft, Jesus Christ, like...
That's a lot of games.
You release an Assassin's Creed game once a year, you don't need to saturate the market with the amount of content.
Actually, it's 2007, then Altair Chronicles and Assassin's Creed 2 came out in... Chronicles came out in 2008. Assassin's Creed 2, Bloodlines, and 2 Discovery all came out in 2009. Brotherhood was 2010. Revelations was 2011. 3 was 2012. Liberation was 2012. Black Flag and Pirates were both 2013. Rogue and Unity both came out in 2014.
My point...
Because for that one, they wanted a game on both consoles, because obviously Unity was Xbox One only.
Mm-hmm.
And so they brought Rogue out as a 360 title.
Wait, was Unity?
Yes. It wasn't on the previous generation of consoles, is my point.
Oh, right. I thought you meant, like... I was like, I'm pretty sure
it was
I have that on PS4.
Not console
Yeah. I was like, I'm solidly sure I have that on PS4.
No, back then it was like next generation games. Like they're doing now for the Xbox Series X. And then... Where was I? Unity? Yeah, and then Memories 1 and 2 both came out in 2014. Syndicate was 2015.
Jesus.
My point
and
is,
then
though, Tom, is if
they didn't have another main title until 2017. They waited 2 years.
Oh my god, they waited 2 years. Wow.
They waited 2 years
Ubisoft.
before bringing out Origins, but in that time they did release the Chronicles and Identity. But then
they just like popped out even more. How many?
Tom, they did Origins in 2017, Odyssey in 2018, Rebellion in 2018, and then they waited again another 2 years until 2020 to release Valhalla.
But Tom, my point is, how many games is that in total for Assassin's Creed? Over 22, did you say?
There are 22 on this list, yeah.
And this series, has been going on for 14 years.
Yes, this list goes from 2007 to 2020, so yes.
Wow.
14 years this series has been going on, and they've released 22 games.
They're still making money off it as well, because if you think about it, they're not just all of the titles. Because, I mean, I've got my Xbox on next to me at the moment. I'm not playing anything. I'll point that out. I'm just looking at the games section.
That's fair.
They've also got Assassin's Creed Remastered, Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered,
all the remasters.
Rogue Remastered, and then they've got the Ezio collection, which is all 3 of the Ezio games that are all been remastered, and they've come with extra content mini games and 2 of the mini movies. So, like,
the Assassin's Creed film. Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, and there's the movie. Don't forget the movie. The movie was terrible. Don't forget the movie.
I kind of liked it.
Can we also not forget that this is a series that, while yes, they continue to make money, they also ham-fisted in microtransactions and grinding in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, because Ubisoft are bastards. Because,
what do you mean in Odyssey? It was in Origins.
It was in Black Flag to an extent. You could pay money
Helix.
to get your ship fully upgraded.
No,
Helix tokens.
I mean the grinding, like the proper RPG grinding stuff they put in I'm pretty sure that was Odyssey.
Yeah,
I think
that was Odyssey. They removed it for Valhalla. It's not in Valhalla.
But it's the point that I make all the time. For these publishers, not enough to make some money; they have to make all of the money.
All the money, or no money at all.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to get off that until I go on a full-blown rant, because one day I am going to go on a full-blown rant about this, because it fucks me off. It really does. But
still clear of that honk mark.
But Jack, you said you've been playing a couple of things this year. I wanted to, or this week I should say, this year.
This year.
I want to talk about just briefly that Genshin Impact you mentioned a little bit earlier.
Impact.
Genshin Impact, yeah,
yes.
Sorry. So, as I said earlier, I had to look at a little footage. It does look a little bit like a Breath of the Wild kind of thing. So, or at least similar to kind of the game style of Breath of the Wild. Yeah. As you said, this is a free-to-play game that does, like all free-to-play games, it does include microtransactions, which, as much as I do hate them to my very core, when something is free-to-play, it's like, it's not acceptable, but it's understandable.
It makes sense for the company to earn money.
Yeah, I guess so. So, talking,
you sounded so defeated.
Well, I mean, they've got advertising, they've got the money generated from that, they've got like all other kinds of revenue sources that these companies have. And they're like, we're going to put microtransactions inside it, which also, like, as long as they've not got, because just genuinely, microtransactions don't have to be absolutely appalling. They don't have to be horrific. But it's just that most publishers in this industry go, right, we have this option of maybe putting this in. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to lock half the game behind a paywall where you've got to pay to speed things up, like a lot of free-to-play games do, like Dungeon Keeper, like the Roller Coaster Tycoon mobile games. Yeah. And on top of that, they also go, right, on top of that, we are going to have microtransactions, but we're going to do them differently. They're going to be in the form of a loot box system, which is actually gambling. Like, like, that's when it gets absolutely infuriating.
You've started on the rant, right?
Breathe, Sam. Breathe.
I'm trying to stay as calm as possible with this.
It's not working.
No, I know. It's sort of working.
So, Genshin Impact.
Yes.
Talk to me. So, why did you start playing? Was it because it was free, or was it just something that's interested you for a while? Because as you said, you said it's on PC, PS4, and mobile as well, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it because of all the anime that I'm looking at right now that has come up after searching it on Google Images?
It's not because of that. I was originally recommended it by a friend, and then I downloaded it, I booted it up, and then the opening sequence started, and then I was like, oh, it's just going to be like generic anime game, and then it instantly uninstalled. And then 2 weeks later, I kind of thought to myself, and I saw a little bit more on it, and actual gameplay wise, and thought, okay, this looks pretty good. So I reinstalled it and started playing it. And then, I just kind of got sucked into it, because it is, like you say, it's one of the gacha games, so they do make you want to pull for characters and stuff. But it's one that I've never felt like I've had to.
Okay.
I've never felt like anything's locked behind a paywall. I can still do everything for free quite easily as well. Because when you get to the higher levels, I think I'm at level 60 for a lot of characters and stuff now, you do get material grinds and stuff like that, but so I play with a friend of mine and they're quite enjoyable, and it still seems quite easy to do all of that sort of thing. Yet I don't feel like I have to buy it, and events and stuff, they give out fuck tons of them for playing the events anyway. But all of that bit aside, I wouldn't say it's like a 10 out of 10 story that the game has, but the game actually has a very charming and nice feel to it, especially again it being are free to play and like things not being locked behind a paywall.
Yeah.
So like, I could go in, and I remember like the first 15-20 minutes, I was just like speechless because of how good it was. Like I jumped in and thought, okay, I'll try this for a laugh. I reckon this is going to be absolute shit. But I gave it a try, and then like the first things I was introduced to is like it's all really well animated. Everything's really slick and smooth. Voice acting as well. I play with the English voices, which a lot of people don't like. But the English voices, some of them aren't the best. Some of them are pretty good. And it's also got Chinese and Japanese voices as well, but those are pretty decent as well. And it was just like the kind of following on the story and getting sucked into playing this actually quite pleasant and aesthetically pleasing game. And the soundtrack is like amazing as well. It was just all of these things coming at me where I was like, I'm playing this game for free. This doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like I should be playing this for free. Like with a lot of free-to-play games, as you said, a lot of it's locked behind a paywall, or there's fuck tons of loot boxes, and that kind of thing. Yeah, a lot of the time you feel like they're not the most polished and they're really buggy.
It feels like rushed out things where any content that is there has been carved out to put behind a loot box paywall or just a microtransaction paywall.
Yeah. So it feels like it's been plopped behind one of those, and with a lot of buggy, kind of playable but not the best playable content that people release as free games and stuff like that.
I mean, it's been rated as number 4 in the top grossing mobile games worldwide for January 2021.
Crikey.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's
number 4. I mean, it's beaten by Fate Grand Order, PUBG Mobile, and Honor of Kings. That's it. Like it's beaten Pokemon. Pokemon is number 6. Pokemon Go is number 6. Then it's Roblox.
Like, this is weirdly just how big this game is, because again, it is a gacha. You can spend money if you want to, but it's never felt. I keep reinforcing this. I'm like an advertisement for them. Give me money, whatever your company is. Give me a advertise, sponsor this video, please. But it feels like it shouldn't be free when I'm playing it. That's what I'm trying to say. The reason I like it so much is because it's a free game that's an open world RPG that has co-op elements, but the co-op elements don't dominate and you can do everything not co-op. And it's so well polished, it feels like it should be a paid game, but it isn't.
What's interesting about it, right, is because I wanted to have a quick look at what the press thought about, because as much a lot of the time we see that there's quite a large player base for something that usually when it comes to the press, members of the press playing it, they're like, oh, this is just they will see it as a gacha piece of crap. But it's averaging 81% on Metacritic on the PlayStation 4 version, and the PC version has got an 84%. With scores such as PlayStation Universe gave it a 90, Gaming Age gave it 91, IGN Italia gave it a 77. So it seems to be, as you say, so I've just looked here. So I've just loaded up to see what other reviews there were, and for some reason, IGN Italia have given it a review, but so have IGN, and IGN's is higher. It's a 90. Why is there 2 separate reviews from the same site but just different departments of it? That's weird.
Hey ho.
Yeah, even people like Destructoid, even like I think the lowest is a 70 from GameSpot, and like 70 is still a pretty decent score
especially for
a free to play game
and a gacha as well.
So it seems it does have some actual worth behind it. In general though, lads, because we've seen an uptick recently in these free to play games that are admittedly quite full of content, you could say. Like obviously, the big one is Fortnite. That's like an absurdly popular game. Lots of content in it, full of microtransactions, makes loads of money, but quite a few people still but quite a few people still find it to be good gameplay wise. You've got stuff like Apex Legends, which is pretty good gameplay, but again is full of loot boxes.
I'll just point out that at time of recording, which is the 9th of March, Apex Legends is officially released on Switch today.
Oh,
yeah. So that's an even more increase in player base for Apex Legends. How do we feel generally, lads, about these free-to-play games that are gameplay-wise good, but do have that underlying kind of scumminess about them because of the stuff like microtransactions? Or is that something that doesn't come into your heads? Because obviously, as you can probably tell, it does come into mind. Like when I was playing Apex Legends, the idea that so much of this stuff could be bought with real-world money. And like as I said earlier, it's not that I have, because I have a problem with microtransactions as a as a concept. Like most of the time in full priced games, in free to play games they're understandable. But when they're, as with Apex Legends, when it's in the form of a loot box, it is kind of really scummy. It's in my view. But does that not come into your lads' heads, or do you see that and maybe think, okay, we'll see how it is, and then that kind of gets overridden when you enjoy the gameplay? How do we feel?
It personally doesn't bother me at all, not gonna lie. If it's a free to play, it depends what's in the loot boxes. So if you go back to when Star Wars Battlefront 2, the modern version, had its release, back when it was like characters locked behind the loot boxes, and you could earn it through in-game playing, but it would take forever, and it was all of that kind of thing locked behind it. And it was very like pay to win with all the stuff locked behind it. That's a big no. That's a big turn. Like turns me away instantly. But if it's something like, I suppose Overwatch does it as well, even though that's a full price game, and Apex and stuff like that, because it's all cosmetics, it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
As long as the things in loot boxes don't have any impact on the gameplay, then I'm perfectly fine with it. Like, it doesn't bother me.
It's the ones where you get round to it and you physically cannot finish this game without spending more money.
Yeah, that's the wait timers thing, like we've seen with, as I said, the Roller Coaster Tycoon World, not Tycoon World, but Tycoon 4 Mobile, Dungeon Keeper Mobile, and I'm not sure if either of you saw anything a couple of years ago about that Harry Potter mobile game.
Yes.
Oh, I think I know the one you're about. The story one.
Yeah, to listeners that may not know what we're talking about, there was a Harry Potter mobile game. I think it's called Harry Potter Hogwarts Mysteries or something like that.
Yeah, I had it installed for a little bit.
It was your standard microtransaction fare. But what made it worse than most other mobile games, and this is really saying something in the mobile space, considering that is now, that space of the industry is now completely full of money-grubbing bastards. Was there was a segment in the game where your child avatar would be getting strangled by some plant. It was one of the plants on the Hogwarts grounds. Can't remember what it's called. Don't care. Whatever. And most of the time, and just through normal playing without spending any money, you would have run out of energy. So you'd have to watch the child avatar be strangled by this root or something like that. And the only way to defeat it basically was to either wait 6 hours, and I'm pretty sure you had to be in game, I think, for that to work.
You don't have to be in game for it.
I couldn't quite remember with that one exactly, or pay about like £5 or £10 to get past that point, which that's the proper scummy stuff that the industry does.
That 100%. That's the thing I don't like with microtransactions, when it forces you to spend money.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as I feel like I'm being forced to pay for something, then that's a big out. Like, I shamefully started Raid Shadow Legends a little while back, and I played that for about maybe a day, if that, and then I started feeling... Like, I thought where it started off the kind of standard free-to-play of, this is actually quite fun, blah, 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 it gives you a bunch of stuff, and then it's like, hang on a minute, it's trying to force me to spend so much money just to carry on, and I was like, fuck this, I'm out.
No.
Straight up.
Tom, any thoughts?
I mean, like you say, it's all down to the situation, I think, and how they go about it, because if, like you say, the games are either they're impossible to play without spending more money, or they're constantly I think it goes beyond advertising. They're just throwing them in your face now and going, hey, buy this.
Yeah.
Hey, buy this. Hey, buy this. And that sort of stuff really irritates me. But I mean, like I was saying, I've been playing a lot of Star Trek Online recently. That is a free-to-play game, but there is quite a lot of microtransactions in it.
Oh, there's loads in that one.
But the majority of them is actually does help with stuff, as well as being cosmetic. Like there's a complete mix in there of being able to just make your guy look fancy, or like buying a bigger, better, fancier ship.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can play the entire game and complete the entire game, going from a tier 1 ship all the way up to a tier 6 ship. You can do the entire game without spending a single penny. And I know you can, because I've done it. Right, once you hit level 65, I think it is, that's the max out level at the moment, you get given another... Basically, you get to like high-end tier 5 ships when you reach Admiral at level 60, and then everyone's like, oh, well, that's it. I've reached it. I've reached top now, and I can't get any more. Because when you actually look at buying ships, they all look like they're... They have what they call Zen money.
Yeah.
And they all look like you have to pay Zen to get these ships, which ordinarily, yes, you would. But you reach level 65, and they will give you an option of 3 separate tier 6 ships that you can then get for free for reaching that level. So it is possible to do. It is just a lot more difficult. I mean, I'm not gonna lie here. I did spend money on it. But given the fact it's a free-to-play game, and I have played this game for about, I don't know, probably not long after it first came out. I started playing it on PC, and then it went onto Xbox, so I decided, I started playing it on Xbox when it came out. I have been playing this game for years, and in my opinion, if I can be like brought onto this game and keep being entertained by said game for this period of time, and it's add on to all that, it's free to play, I'd say it's worth it. Because I didn't actually, the amount that I paid on it was not the amount that I would have paid on any other normal game. Like, I paid less on that than I would for any other open world game of the same style.
Yeah.
So like I said, I think it's definitely to do with the situation in which microtransactions are placed in games, and the restrictions that are put on them, to do with what like the loot you get from it and stuff.
Yeah. There's a couple of things I want to say on that. So first of all, I think so you mentioned Star Trek Online. You know, I played that a little bit as well, with you most of the time, actually. Now, I'm not sure, this is going to sound a bit odd, but I think Star Trek Online is maybe, because it came out in 2010, I think it's in like from a different era of these free-to-play online games. So maybe, you know, either that, or maybe there's a very, very small chance that the developers just want to make a fun game and like, okay, we'll put these cosmetic stuff in because, you know, we kind of have to by Atari being the publisher. Now, what I would say though is, so you mentioned there the cosmetic stuff, you know, and I know you can buy ships, you know, in a lot of these games, the cosmetics are the main monetized thing. In something like, because I play, you know, Overwatch fairly regularly, I've never bought a single microtransaction in that thing. You know, I've been playing when they've had the events where you can get the skins. That's win 9 matches and you get the skin that you want. I think that's not too bad because it's, you know, earning rewards through gameplay.
Yeah.
However, the problem I have with it, and I want to get your guys' take on it, is so in something like, we'll use Overwatch as an example. That is a game, and you mentioned their cosmetics. Am I correct in saying that you two believe that because with something like a free-to-play game in something like Apex, for example, that cosmetics being microtransactions is fine?
Yeah.
I would say yes, but depending on the amount that they're willing to charge.
Okay. I want to get that clear because, you know, the way I look at it personally is that the cosmetics are as much a part of the game, and this definitely more applies to something like, you know, as we say, paid stuff like Overwatch, because, you know, it's, you know, you're paying money up front, and then to charge for stuff on top of that is very, very dirty. with regard to cosmetics in my mind at least are much as part of the experience of something like an online shooter as anything else. Because it's the idea of looking different, of expressing yourself. There's a reason there's been stories with regard to Fortnite that there is a trend now that is young kids in school are getting bullied because they use the default skin because their parents don't want to pay for them to get monetization pieces.
That's horrible. Jesus.
Yeah, that's
horrible.
That's what I mean when I say, to me they're as much a part of the experiences as the gameplay itself, because when you have that kind of situation, and even if you look at something like FIFA, for example, that's the big money maker in the industry. You've got.
I hate FIFA so much.
No, but look at it as in regards to the Ultimate Team mechanic, which is the big money maker. Yeah. Makes EA a lot of money. I think last year they made over $1 billion just from the Ultimate Teams in their various games. I may have that wrong, but I know it's a lot of money that Ultimate Team makes. Even if with that you're playing against your mates and you're coming up against their team and they've either played lots of games and they bought packs and found a rare player, etc., or they've just asked their parents to pay for them to buy packs.
Yeah,
and they've got loads of great players. If you're turning up there with a team of base players that you bought for not a lot because you're just playing the game, again, that might bring on a bullying aspect. That's why I'm always so kind of hesitant to get on board with monetization, because there is that kind of psychological impact on people. I'm someone that for how long was it? About a year and a half. I'd get a tenner a week in pocket money, and without fail, I'd always spend it on FIFA packs, and they'd be gone within 5 minutes.
Jeez.
5 minutes gone. I did that so many times, and and that is why I've had people ask me, why are you so against stuff like microtransactions? Because I've lived it. And there are, I am. Don't get me wrong. I am a very minute example. There are people, we've seen news stories of people that have spent an ungodly amount of money, or their kids have spent loads of money on these packs because they're so easy to access.
Can I just interrupt a second? I just read something here.
Yeah, go on.
About Fortnite. Many of the quote, many of the cosmetic packs that you can buy in game start at £8 and go up to $119.99.
Yep.
Now, if it's just cosmetic packs, that is the sort of price I do not agree with. If you're paying any more than £5 for a full pack, for £5, I would expect to be able to deck my character out with a full outfit that wasn't mix and match, that was just a full outfit with matching accessories.
Yeah.
And that's £5. Anything like individual items, you do like 50p to £1, if that. This is ridiculous. Sorry, continue.
It's all right.
Fortnite is very, very ridiculous with theirs. It's so expensive.
It's the fact they've gotten away with it because the industry has trained itself for so long that this is it, or the publishers at least have trained themselves to think this is acceptable to charge this amount of money.
But I will say, sorry to interrupt again, even though I think they're very expensive.
Yeah.
I'm going to play the devil's advocate here, but I kind of stand with it as well. That is your decision to pay that much. If people are... It's a conversation I have with my mum quite a lot as well.
Okay.
It's going a little bit off topic here. But she talks about things like design and like art and stuff like that, and like artistic pieces and models and all that kind of crap and interior design stuff. But she's always very confused about why people pay so much money for something. And it's something that I will go... Same with the cosmetics. The reason they can do it is because people are happy to pay that amount. And if people are happy to pay that amount, then I don't really see as much wrong with it. Because yes, it might seem expensive to some people. To me, it seems expensive as well, especially like 120 quid for a cosmetic. Yeah. Even though, yes, I did do that on Apex Legends for a Mirage statue, an heirloom, but I still paid it because I was happy to. It was a metric fuck ton of money, for sure, but I was still happy to pay for it. And a lot of people are happy to pay for these things as well. And because there are a lot of people that are happy to pay for it, does that necessarily make it wrong? because you could still say the same thing of like, I'm gonna use art again as the example, like a painting that like it may have taken someone about 10 minutes to do, or like Banksy. We're really off topic here with this dude, but like he's very, very famous painter, and his things sell for extortionate amounts of money, and he even knows this. But it's like people are happy to pay that price. So why is it any different when it's coming from a cosmetic microtransaction in a game to something physical like an art piece?
Well, I think
the only difference is that it's like a physical real world thing.
Well, I think there's two things to say. First of all, again, I'm going to go back to the paid versus free to play thing. If it's paid, if it is a paid cosmetic, if it's a cosmetic that is in the game from the beginning, you should not have to pay for it because it is inherently included in the cost. We as gamers have already, regardless of what publishers want to try and convince us, we have had to pay more for games in the last couple of years.
Oh, 100%.
They went from 30 to 40 to 45 to now 50 to 60 pounds for a standard game.
It's gotten so bad that actually, even with the deflation of old games getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, a lot of games that were expensive when all this started just stayed the same price the whole way through.
Yeah.
I think the last like full price game I bought was Borderlands 3, and before that it was even further back. I don't think I've spent any more than like £25 on a full price game, so I just don't buy them unless they're on sale.
So that's the thing we should say is that there is things. If, for example, again, I'll use Overwatch as an example because it is the poster child of microtransactions within full priced games. If there is a skin in there, like, and this is the say take the loot box out, I'm keeping that in the back of my mind because the loot boxes are a disgusting addition to that. But if, for example, they didn't have the loot boxes and they had a store system like in Fortnite, everything in that store that launches at the time of release, and I would argue going up until the very end of the game, is included in the price. Because I have paid Blizzard in that case, or whoever it may be, my money, and every player has paid them their money. They should be entitled to everything that is included in that. Because as I said, cosmetics is as much a part of the game as the gameplay itself. With regard to free-to-play stuff, now...
Hold on, I will say theoretically for Overwatch, you saying that technically they are earnable through gameplay. It's hard, it's incredibly hard, and I'm not saying, I reckon they should be easier, especially with their loot boxes, but all of the cosmetics in the game are earnable. No,
what I mean with regard to that is, so you said about Star Wars Battlefront 2. Theoretically, you could spend 40 hours to get this skin for Darth Vader, but that is 40 hours to get a skin.
Can confirm Darth Vader does not have any.
He doesn't have
skins.
skins. It was the character to unlock. There was to play as Vader. That was the problem I had with it. It was to actually unlock playing as him. Same with
whatever
Luke
it was.
Palpatine.
40 hours to access one of the most iconic characters in Star Wars. Yeah. That's why I say that because in this instance, again, we'll look at Apex. The reason I made that decision, as I said, because in my mind at least, everything that is content in a paid game you've already paid for, especially when it's a company like Activision or Epic Games that are making a metric shit ton of cash already. Like, if they can afford to sack 900 members of staff and then decide, actually, we're going to give Bobby Kotick a $32 million raise, they can afford to give me content that I have paid for through the full price game. With regard to free to play stuff, the reason I would again, I appreciate you're playing devil's advocate here. The argument I would use against that, is the free to play market is, what is the idea of the free to play market in theory? That everyone is on a level playing field. As long as you have access to the console, to an internet connection, or the PC, or console, whatever, the internet connection, you can play the game, yeah?
Yeah.
If you lock a cosmetic behind over £100, like, that's not available to everyone. And the whole point behind supposedly free-to-play games is that the content is available to everybody.
Technically, the content is. The gameplay is. A cosmetic is just an override.
But as I said, the cosmetics are as much a part of the game experience as the gameplay itself.
I'm going to share a story here.
Go on.
Just gonna weigh in between you two.
Slide on in.
So a friend of mine, she's not big on technology. She doesn't know games or anything like that. But her kid plays Fortnite.
Yeah.
And he asked her, "Can I borrow your card?
Oh no.
Because I want to get something in the game."
I don't like where this is going.
She
I've
asked
heard
him
stories like this before.
She asked him,
I have heard stories like this before too.
"Did you? What is it? Does it add to the game? Does it make it better? Is it something that's worth the money you're asking for?" And he said yes. And what he did was he took her card and he registered it to his Xbox as opposed to just using it for a one-time purchase.
Yeah.
He then spent over £250 a month
Jesus.
on Fortnite skins without her knowledge. He then came to my house boasting about it, saying, "Oh yeah, so I got this cool skin, I got that cool skin." I'm like, "Who's paying for all this?" And then he turns to his mum, and she sat there like, "Yeah, well, it makes the game better, doesn't it? Like, it's adding something to it." I'm like, "Nope, it's all cosmetic." And he very quickly lost his Xbox. She had no idea what she was paying for. She had no idea why £250 a month was being taken out of her bank account. And it was her money to spend, not his. And yet it got spent on cosmetics that were stupidly expensive because someone that doesn't have the brain power isn't the word.
The
maturity.
knowledge of video games.
Yeah. The knowledge of video games and the maturity to understand what they're buying was paying for it with somebody else's card. And that is the danger that having prices that high for cosmetics brings you to.
Yeah.
Because I get what you were saying about the fancy pieces of art, but to buy them, you actually have to go to the place. They register that actually you are the age that you say you are, and you are buying with the money that is yours.
And they establish,
They don't
most
do
of the time establish you have the capital to pay for this.
Yeah. They don't do that when it comes to these loot boxes that are actually stupidly expensive.
Yeah.
That bit of cosmetic, I can buy 6 new title games with that amount of money.
100%, yeah.
I'll put it this way as well. So to use the FIFA example, sorry to cut you off, Tom. In regards to it, like the FIFA pack, I'm like, okay, so it's been worked out that with these packs, on average, so for example, you've got different price of packs. You've got ones that just cost 5,000 coins, 750, etc. When it comes to the 5,000k packs, okay, that cost, I think they are a tenner. They're a tenner.
Yeah.
There are 12 players in those packs. It's something around that. I can't remember the exact number. It's been worked out that those players are 10 pence per player. Okay. Now, with the loot box system, the reason I say it's gambling, the reason I hate it when so many people get on their horse and go, well, actually, no, because gambling is in a casino or something like that.
Yeah. It's not. Gambling's everywhere.
Well, I've argued that loot boxes and the industry is for some reason I should say agreed with me on this. Loot boxes are worse than gambling because at least with gambling there is a chance you can get your money back. With loot boxes or any other gambling-esque system in a video game, it is digital code that will disappear when the next game comes out. When someone buys so many packs and players and spends God knows how many thousands of pounds, like we've seen countless stories finally being reported in the mainstream press in the non-video game press, on sites like the BBC of kids wiping out money from their parents' bank accounts to spend on FIFA packs. They will never get that money back. Not a single chance. Even if they get the best player in the game, it's all just coins.
Yeah.
All of that is just money right into the back pockets of Electronic Arts because it's digital code. It's a bit of art with some numbers behind it. That's all this is.
I'm gonna go play. This is a big devil's advocate, and this
I
is
think I
definitely
know
gonna
what
make
you're
a lot of
about
enemies.
to say
You probably
right
do
now.
know what I'm about to say.
I'm
right
looking
now
at
as
the
well.
article right now.
I haven't got any articles up, but you probably know what I'm about to say.
Go on.
And I understand this is going to piss a lot of people off. Just to say, I am neutral on this view. This isn't something I hold, and I understand it's going to piss a lot of people off.
You're playing devil's
Say
advocate. You're offering a counter argument.
yes, the counter argument to this is theoretically,
Yeah.
those kids
Yeah.
shouldn't have been given access to those cards that easily.
Okay.
There should have, you could say there could have been a hell of a lot more monitoring and a bit like, actually, what is this? Why is all this money coming out? Actually checking it, checking what the kid's buying, and that kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, they are kids. They are still your kids.
Okay.
It kind of comes back to that argument of, it's a different argument, kind of going a bit off point, but kind of comes back to the same thing of kids watching things online they shouldn't.
Okay, that
because they're not being monitored. The same thing of they're allowed to be spending this because potentially they haven't been monitored.
What I will say, Jack, to that, okay, is first of all, okay, to a certain extent, I agree. There should be, there's more a wider discussion within parents' responses to entertainment their kids are enjoying. They should be keeping an eye on it. Okay, I agree with you on that.
I will say again,
I understand you're offering a counter argument.
Oh no, this is just to add in real quick before you continue for like the adults doing it as well. Again, with the higher prices, adults themselves, again myself included, in terms of this, like paying for something that's more expensive. I know how much it costs, and I know I can afford it in this case, so I am perfectly happy to pay that price.
Yeah.
Again, yes, they should be cheaper, but then it comes back to the kids. Obviously, they don't understand this, and why haven't they been monitored when given access to like their parents' credit card, for example?
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
so again, with that, I would say, the thing that the likes of Activision, Electronic Arts, and Ubisoft use to shield themselves is they use a virtual currency to obscure how much it's actually costing. We all know that. Yeah. We know that. No, that's the fact of business with these corporations.
Oh, 100%.
With regard to, as I said, to a certain extent, I agree. There should be a bit more monitoring of these, of what kids are of what entertainment they are enjoying. Okay.
Yeah.
However, when it comes to, and I don't think, Electronic Arts aren't the only one to blame here. Microsoft or PlayStation as a platform holder, they have parental controls on the consoles.
Yes.
Which mean that a password, to a certain extent, a password needs to be entered for a purchase to be able to be made. If the kid remembers that, they will be able to spend money. The one thing that always gets me, okay, I'm not sure if there was an article, again, it might be, I'm not sure if Tom is reading one on the BBC, but there was an article that that about a young child who spent a lot of money on their parents' credit cards, and the dad was saying, look, I should have taken more responsibility, but, and this is a big but, the parental controls that are given to to parents are quite limited. The password is really the only thing. They don't have an option, for example, on a Microsoft account to give them a checkbox to authorize every single purchase. In addition to that, okay, I would like to tell you the response that Electronic Arts gave when it was asked for comment on the situation of these children spending lots of money. Do you know what they did? They didn't.
Probably something horrific, knowing EA. But
EA didn't go, well, we understand, we're going to try and put measures in place. All they did was send a link to the BBC. This wasn't to the parents, to the BBC. They're like, here's a link to our how to control your kids' spending page on their website.
Okay, yeah, that's shitty of them. But EA, did we expect anything else?
But my point is, that is the attitude of every single publisher in this industry. The facts are this, okay? When we look at the average spend per player, there was an article published. Let me find it. This was from all the way back in 2016, and I will say, okay, this is with regard specifically to which one was it? Was that one there? This is it. Yeah, so it is average player spend with regard to per game. As I said, this is mobile games, I understand, but you can think, as we said, there's a lot of money being made by the likes of Electronic Arts from these microtransactions.
Yeah.
So this was from, as I said, a couple of years ago, 2016. This was from analysis, I should say, conducted by digital analyst Slice Intelligence, and it was based on over 4 million digital purchases. Okay?
Ooh.
So this is the top spend per player in the top 25 mobile games of 2015. The analysis was posted in 2016. Okay,
Yeah.
So it starts with $6.50 with Minecraft. Now that's what you pay for the game for the mobile version of Minecraft on the phone.
Yeah, just to buy it outright.
Yes, indeed. The next one up is The Sims Free Play. That increases to $38.55.
Holy shitballs.
Yeah.
That's madness
yeah.
for a mobile game.
Farm Hero Saga. I'm gonna cover all of these because it will show the increase. Okay. Farm Hero Saga 55.21. SimCity Build It 55.67.
What are these? What are the prices for? Sorry, is this like general play?
This is average spend per player.
Average spend. Okay.
Yeah, average spend per player. Yeah, so it goes from The Sims $38.55. That's the second lowest of the top 25 behind, which is only. Which is the lowest the second lowest, the only lowest being Minecraft, where you pay $6.50 for the actual game.
Yeah.
So it goes to $38.55, then jumped at Farm Hero Saga at $55.21, $55.67 for SimCity Build It. It goes on and on. You go a couple more up, so like stuff like Simpsons Tapped Out is $72.14.
This is ridiculous.
That is, it is insane.
I'm not done, lads. I'm not done.
It gets worse.
Is
Raid Shadow Legends on that list?
No.
Or was this before?
No.
It wouldn't have been out then.
No, but it gets worse, okay? So you've got Gummy Drop, goes up to $100.15.
What the fuck?
Clash of Clans, up to $112.99.
Oh yeah, I forgot Clash of Clans was out then. Jeez.
Yeah. It goes up to, let me find the last. Okay, so there's a couple of gambling ones on here. Okay, The last gambling one is Double Down Casino Free Slots, $126.82. That is behind Marvel Contest of Champions, $127.77. Brave Frontier.
So a literal gambling site.
Yeah.
A literal gambling thing where, again, it is gambling, but you could earn money back.
Sorry.
Has spent less.
Sorry. I just need to correct myself. That is not the last gambling one. There are two. There is one above it. There's one above it. So Castle Crash goes up to $202.26. The actual last gambling one, Big Fish Casino Free Slots, $232.67. Now, as far as I'm aware, from when I remember going to this article a couple of years ago, that with that one you can't get money. That is literally just goes on the slots.
What?
But there are two apps above it. Summoner's War, which goes up to $272.41 at the top. Anyone want to have a guess? Think about what was the most popular game of a couple of years ago.
Oh shit! Pokemon Go.
So this was before Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go. Okay.
Flappy Bird.
Flappy Bird. Was there microtransactions on Flappy Bird?
No, it was just free to play with Flappy Bird.
People were paying money for phones that had Flappy Bird when it was moved from the
and
store.
the advertising revenue for that was really high, but that didn't have any microtransactions.
Yeah. When's this article again? Sorry.
So this is from a period covering the 1st of January 2015 to the 31st 2015.
2015 popular mobile game. Angry Birds, but that was free to play, wasn't it?
Yes, but it did have, but the subsequent versions, and I think that version got updated to have microtransactions.
Just tell us already.
Tell us. I don't know.
The answer?
I don't know.
And so just remember, the second highest was Summoner's War with $272.41 spent per player. The top one, Game of War Fire Age. The average gamer spends $549.69 on that game.
What the shit? That's insane. That's making my 120 on a statue sound
No. Right.
nothing.
You're missing out on something here as well. This is the average player spend, which means there is somebody. There is somebody that has spent next to nothing, which means there's somebody else countering that that has spent a lot more than that.
Oh my god, you're right.
There is a reason why the games industry refers to us as players or consumers as different types of sea animals. I believe the ones they use are plankton, dolphins, whales, and white whales. Is how they refer to us as people. No, they don't. They dehumanize us by making us sound like plankton for things for them to be farmed. But yeah, just to be clear, again, that was the average spend per player on those mobile games. So just imagine how much it is for these games on consoles.
Yeah.
I will say, Sam, I know we've been beating down on Fortnite, and I don't like it. Okay, I want to make
I'm
that
not
clear.
a fan either. I used to play it
don't
for
like
ages,
the
but
game,
yeah.
but I will give it this.
Yeah.
Okay, the paid loot boxes now have a setting on the actual loot box menu.
Yeah.
To turn them transparent so you can see what's in them before you buy it.
Okay.
That's the paid for ones. The free ones are still random, obviously.
Yeah.
But you can see what is in it before you buy it now.
That's
because
in the bought not online Fortnite. The not Fortnite everyone raves about, the other Fortnite.
This is Fortnite. Fortnite.
Yeah,
Insane.
the Fort. There's two variations of Fortnite, which there's the
What?
Battle Royale, which everyone knows, and then there's the version that it started with, which was like Fortnite base defense.
Yeah, it was a
thing.
base defense, which when
And,
it was announced, I was really looking forward to because it looked quite
Yeah.
interesting.
I actually
This
played
is
it quite a
the
bit.
llamas, the loot
Yeah,
llamas
yeah,
in
the loot
Battle
llamas.
Royale.
Okay.
Wait. When did Battle Royale mode get loot boxes? I missed that. What?
No, they've always had it.
Battle Royale mode also has battle passes.
They had the battle passes. The Battle Royale mode didn't always have a loot llama. Loot boxes, did they? They always had the shop, but they didn't have loot boxes. I don't think so. Because I used to play that game quite a bit. Used to, being the optimum word there. To not touch that shit now.
Correction, it will affect all paid loot llamas throughout both Battle Royale and Standard mode.
Maybe they have added them then.
Can I just add something quickly,
It's a
gents?
BBC article, so I'm assuming yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to just add something to be 100% clear about a point I made earlier and the amount of money EA made from their microtransactions. In one of their quarterly from around February last year, EA reported money made from live services $993 million from the quarter ending the 31st of December 2019. And that was 12 months of the whole, having made $2.835 billion from microtransactions.
That is madness.
That's ridiculous.
That is actually insane. Jesus.
So that's why I'm saying that you
the
saw
market is microtransactions.
No, that's why I'm saying you see the spend per player on mobile games. Just imagine that's how much EA made on microtransactions in 2019. Imagine how much money the average spend per player in something like FIFA would be.
FIFA, I know, is the worst. But like you said, you used to play FIFA quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I know people who used to play FIFA loads. And yeah, the players thing, or the Ultimate Team, I don't know much on it. I thought it was even worse than just a cosmetic override. I thought the players had different skill levels, so you were playing to get a better skilled player.
Well, they do.
Oh,
they
wow,
are. It's kind of this. So the way the Ultimate Team packs work is that the players that you use in the game are contained within packs.
Yeah.
But the reason it's so egregious is because you can pay. So, for example, as I mentioned earlier, they've got like 50k and 100,000 coin packs.
Yeah.
In those 100,000 coin packs, you could get nobody of any value, and those packs are like 15 quid each. So you spent 15 quid to get no one of any value.
That's fucked up.
Because obviously, countries like China and more recently, a lot of countries have required that these companies disclose the odds of drop rates in their games. Now,
Genshin is one they do that in, I should say. I've heard the company sometimes isn't the best. I forgot a friend of mine said that. He was not a fan of MiHoYo as a company. He didn't say why, I don't think, but he wasn't a fan of them as a company.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do release the chances on like specific pools from their systems.
As I said, because they have to, because they're forced by law. EA did it for the FIFA series, and it found that to get the highest rated players, there is a 0.01% chance.
Oh my god.
Of packing the most valuable, highest rated players in the game. But those are the cards that EA use to promote the game, so they can promote their big events where they've got them exclusively in packs. Thus, people go out and spend an ungodly amount of money.
But EA are just shitty, anyways. I mean, I'm glad they got their Star Wars privileges revoked.
But as I said earlier, that's not just Electronic Arts. This is the attitude from across the industry. I'm not sure if either of you heard of. I'm sorry. I know we said we wouldn't get to this point, but I'm afraid.
Here we are.
I'm afraid to listeners. This is the realities of the industry. I'm not sure if any of you have heard of the situation regarding Crash Team Racing Was it last year or the year before that?
Didn't they say they weren't going to add loot boxes and microtransactions, and then they added loot boxes and microtransactions?
It wasn't just that. So this was at a time that the ESRB, the Electronic Software Ratings Board, the US equivalent of our PEGI, our PEGI ratings board, had announced an in-game purchases label, which, by the way, stuff like FIFA, despite, as it was reported this week, or today, I should say, that Germany are trying to make games with loot boxes required to have an 18+ classification. That at the moment they do not. Games with in-game purchases can still be rated 3, which is for everyone.
Yeah, that ain't right.
Now, what Activision did is so this rating had been announced by the ESRB and PEGI. What Activision did is they released their game, and I believe it might have got a 3 rating, I think. And then 2 weeks later, they added in a microtransaction store. Now, the most egregious part of this is that while the storefront versions of the game do have the PEGI and ESRB in-game purchases or microtransactions label attached to it, the physical copies do not. The physical copies did not have to be recalled to have that label printed on them. So Activision were able to sell copies of their game without this PEGI label, which of course, if there's a kid walking through a supermarket and they go, "Oh, I want that game, mummy," and it doesn't have the logo that the copy should have, then they might end up buying the game and saying, "Oh my god, it's full of microtransactions," and that might contribute to even more ridiculous spending on these systems.
I'd heard about it, but I didn't know Crash Team Racings was that bad.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
Well, you forget this is the same Activision that, with Modern Warfare Remastered, decided we're going to lock this behind the most expensive edition of our Advanced Warfare game. Then they were going to add microtransactions to it. Then they added a crafting system to it. And in addition, what do? Even though it was meant to be a complete edition, they didn't include the DLC, which they sold back to us as players at a £5 premium. They weren't £10 anymore, they were £15 they were asking for that DLC.
Oh, Activision, you poor bastards. Why would you do... there are some things where it does get ridiculous. Especially, I find it more with Western companies, to be honest. Like, they can get away with it a lot more.
I mean, it's definitely the Western publishers that do engage in the microtransaction.
Dare I say, even the American companies more so. Because I know...
Well, I'd say Western as a whole, though, because, you've got Ubisoft, who are a French publisher and are scummy with this as well. But what I'd like to say to that is that does not mean that whether it be Japanese or Eastern developers are immune from this. The likes of Konami are scumbags in terms of, they put out a piece of shit game and then tack microtransactions onto it in the form of Metal Gear Survive.
I take it that game didn't do too well.
What I will say is that the Eastern developers typically, not all of the time, but typically are those in the industry still most against content creation on their games. Of course, Nintendo for a long time had a policy that any footage of their game, unless you signed up to their partner program, any footage on their game would be claimed and you wouldn't be able to monetize your video. And if you did
Nintendo's real bad.
If you did luckily they got rid of it, thankfully, when the Switch came, or just after the Switch came out. But with their partner program, if I recall correctly, you had to give them, was it 55%, I believe? Let me check.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of money. Like, that's a straight up amount. It's especially when, if you think about it, content creators do kind of a lot of free advertisement, I'd say. Because a lot of the games that I end up buying myself, or like trying myself, or like want to, is because I've seen creator like playing it first. And then I'm like, hold up, that game actually looks quite fun, like something I would actually try.
Okay, so I want to get the sorry to interrupt, Jack. I wanted to get the facts clear on this on the old Nintendo partner program, because you've got to remember that YouTube also takes a cut of creators' money. So Nintendo in 2013 claimed all monetization rights to videos using images or music for its games. 2 years later, it introduced a Nintendo Creators Program, letting people sign up to give Nintendo a 40% share of the advertising revenue for videos featuring its products and its licensing. And then you tack onto that, I believe YouTube takes 45 or 55% of YouTubers' money.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's real bad. I knew Nintendo was very, very touchy about people using their things, because I remember
Konami
a while back.
Konami are the same. They're really bad.
And I remember a while back there was a Minecraft mod. They people remade it, but it was like Pokecraft or something. The one where it's like Pokemon in Minecraft, and it was like it was a free to play mod, like free. So no one was earning any money off it. Maybe like from a Patreon, but because that's not technically earning money off it, it was fine. And then Nintendo issued them a bunch of cease and desist orders for a mod to Minecraft, and they were like the developers had to take it down for whatever reason, because there were just so much pressure from Nintendo. Luckily, it's been remade, and I'm pretty sure if they have received any cease and desists, they've just been like, yeah, fuck you.
Yeah.
Because they don't technically have any legal grounds against it. Well, but I think the reason they stopped it the first time was just because of how heavy like they were on it.
Yeah, Nintendo have done that like a couple of years ago. They were really bad. They took down a game called Pokemon Uranium, which was a fan-made new version of Pokemon Uranium, which had, I think, a couple of new mechanics. They took that down. Some fans have made a really nice version of, I think it was Metroid. No, hang on.
Yeah.
No, Legend of Zelda. That was it. They made a voxel version of Legend of Zelda that was really good. That got taken down. They got... A couple of years ago, Nintendo was so petty that a magazine archiving website were archiving some old copies of an old Nintendo magazine, and Nintendo sent them a cease and desist letter.
Jesus.
Even though it was something that Nintendo hadn't touched for about a decade and a half.
Yeah, Nintendo, I just heard they're so bad on it, and that's just the evidence there.
You've said that name too much, cease and desist.
Oh, Christ, yeah. It's not like Disney. No, we'll have to wait for Disney to buy them.
Oh, God, not that again.
Disney's got to buy them.
Yeah,
and then we'll be fine.
I wanted to cover a couple of things, lads. Funny enough, we've actually touched on a couple of them. So news stories that came up. Obviously, we just mentioned the Germany wanting to make 18 plus, games with loot boxes and required to have a PEGI 18 rating. Am I right? We can all get behind that in terms of making sure that these gambling mechanics are in as few games as humanly possible.
Can we have that in the UK as well, please?
Well,
not just Germany.
I believe this will be a PEGI.
Yeah, we do use their rating.
Yeah. This is a
PEGI thing.
I believe this may end up being a PEGI thing, which would apply to us, unless our government is stupid and take us out of the pan-European game. I can't remember what the PEGI stands for, but take us out of that, which I hope they don't, because it has a lot of problems, but it's a relatively all right system. There was also, we've slightly touched on it, the price of the games. Rockstar's owner Take-Two, so this is, I believe, Strauss Zelnick, the CEO. Has said, Strauss Zelnick has argued that players are ready for $70 prices for games. His exact
said are or aren't?
Are ready. His exact quotes were, "We announced a $70 price
I'm not
point
ready for that.
Let me quote him. He said, quote, "We announced a $70 price point for NBA 2K21. Our view was that we're offering an array of extraordinary experiences, lots of replayability, and the last time there was a frontline price increase in the US was 2005, 2006. So we think consumers were ready for it," Strauss Zelnick replied. Now, Strauss Zelnick, I'd like to say to you, go to hell. He's also the individual, funnily enough, Strauss Zelnick, that said that he didn't think that Take-Two was monetizing the players of its games enough. Let's not forget they also make they are the parent company of Rockstar, of Epic Games. So he didn't think that he was monetizing us enough. Go to hell, Strauss Zelnick, especially because, as I said, in the US they haven't had a price increase.
Yeah.
In a couple of years, but it also is the case that the content within a game has been getting less and less and less, but you're still spending that same amount of money.
They want to charge more for less.
Yeah. As we said earlier, we in the UK have had a price increase on our games. There used to be a time when they used to be 30 quid a pop. God, I miss those days.
Oh, I remember. Same. I miss those days. I loved them so much.
But on top of that, okay, this is also with the price increase. So I must state for the record that the $70 price tag is being applied to Xbox Series X and S and PlayStation 5 versions of the games. But of course that will go over into the next generation of consoles once more and more people make the switch.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I think it's absolutely disgraceful that the publishers believe it's acceptable to be charging this amount, like to increase the price that they're charging for their games, given, as we said a moment ago, they're providing or they're putting into the games less content and we're spending more money. But the Battlefield games recently have been, $60 or in our case 50 quid may be the base price, but you then got to double the price for the season pass, which brings you the maps.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, no one's playing Battlefield for the campaign.
I did.
I did.
Okay, is it the thing you spend the most time in with Battlefield?
It depends how much I enjoy the online. If I don't enjoy the online much, then yeah.
It's the same reason I play Call of Duty. I play it for the campaign.
So I haven't actually bought a Call of Duty game, but every time they've come up free on somewhere, I play it for the campaign.
That is
that's
exactly
it.
how I have them.
I hate the online gameplay of Call of Duty.
But exactly, Jack, you said there, when you get it for free.
Oh yeah, it's just because I won't buy Call of Duty because I don't like them.
Reaching back, Sam.
Yeah.
PEGI stands for Pan-European Game Information.
That was it.
Oh, good.
I couldn't remember. I remember looking up, remembering a couple of years ago, and I couldn't remember what the I stands for.
Information.
But, yeah. So.
Oh, the irony.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is again.
You needed the information to find out information.
We've covered a lot of the horrible side of the games industry in this episode. But I wanted to finish on something a little bit interesting.
Can I slide actually something interesting going on for the raised price tag?
No.
This could be a really good time for indie developers who charge less for their games.
Perhaps.
That's a good shout.
Because people, especially if the AAAs, because I've played so many indie games that are worth way more than like AAAs are.
Yeah.
And because indie game developers, they're often smaller. They come from, obviously they have a lower base price because they don't want to turn people away. Like Phasmophobia, when that came out, that's one guy, as far as I'm aware, like one guy working on that entire game. And we just boot up Steam real quick to check how much it is. But I think it's only like 15 quid, if that.
Fall Guys also wasn't very expensive when it came out.
Yeah.
Because obviously it was part of, I believe, PlayStation Plus, so people got it free through that.
Where are we at Phasmophobia? Yeah, I think I don't think it's gone anything over 15 quid, but I have currently got 59.5 hours in a game, and that's quite a lot for me to spend on a singular game.
Yeah.
Because I flip between them quite a bit, and it's things like that where indie developers charging a hell of a lot less than the AAA titles, and often making games that are a hell of a lot better. Because now if I look at a AAA game, I see the gameplay, and it could look incredible. It could have the best graphics ever and all that kind of crap. And the gameplay could be pretty good. But I know theoretically it could be littered with things like loot boxes, like for not cosmetic loot boxes as well, because I've already said I don't mind the cosmetic ones, but like the not cosmetics and microtransactions for DLC, I don't know, guns or whatever it is you're microtransactioning for. And that kind of turns me off a bit when it's so deep in the gameplay. But then I see so many indie games that are so fun that don't have lots of DLC and microtransactions, or if they do, it's only like the tiniest bit for like maybe 50p a pound kind of thing. And I'm way more pulled to start playing them because I'm like, this is a genuinely fun game that I can enjoy fully and I don't have to spend extra money on.
What I would argue though, however, is I agree with you on a lot of the points you made. I've played so many indie games that are so much better than a lot of the AAA guff.
Yeah.
But what I would say to that, Jack, is, look, mate, look who's talking here. You and I and Tom, we are part of the enthusiast gamer. We are part of the, I don't want to use the horrible hardcore gamer thing that gets chucked around all the time, but we are those that take an active interest.
A hobbyist.
We take an active interest in the games industry. So we're looking for new experiences in this field. The main way the main people that are probably going to be paying that 70 quid price tag are going to be those that are the more core gamers, the more, the people that will buy a sports game and Call of Duty every year. Like, that's all they'll buy.
Yeah.
That's my problem with it, is that, because of the attitude, and it's so difficult. I've talked about this before. It's so going to be so difficult to get into to educate. Basically, I don't want to sound patronizing, but to inform people. This is a horrific an anti-consumer move from these publishers. Please help us in fighting back and saying, no, we will not accept, for example, in this case, a price increase for these games. It's so difficult. We've already seen how ineffective gamer boycotts can be in the past, like the Modern Warfare 2 boycott that failed about a day after the game came out, because there's a famous photo, or screenshot I should say, of a Steam group that was hashtag boycott Modern Warfare 2, because it was, if I remember rightly, it was something like they wouldn't put private servers in. There was a screenshot taken of that group the day the game came out, and something like 85 to 90% of the people were playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. So like,
oh my god,
yeah, it's already difficult to get enthusiast gamers to get along with boycotts. To get the core gaming market is so incredibly difficult, and I've got a horrible gut feeling that this is just going to catch on, and while you might have people like us shouting from the rooftops, don't let this happen, this is disgusting, this is an abuse of power from these corporations, that it's just going to be accepted because it's it's the idea of, I guess, taking away the entertainment they enjoy is like maybe a way to see it.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. It is because, as you said, we are all very into this kind of thing. Played lots of different styles of games, and you get a lot of the more casual who maybe only just play Fortnite or Call of Duty and FIFA and that kind of thing, because that's the only thing they really play. I get what you mean. Who are just like, I don't want to say mindlessly, but I guess mindlessly is the correct word. I'm not meaning it to be insulting, but I can't think of another word to go for it. Or just kind of like, you see a new Call of Duty, they want the Call of Duty, so they buy the Call of Duty. Yeah. That's fine. You want to play the game, that's fine. You want to buy it. Not fully realizing that the price is steeping up, I guess. And, it is a lot of bad things. Because again, it goes back to, like I was saying about the loot boxes of not minding paying a price. It really does come down to, again, if people mind paying that price. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, if you get a lot of people who don't mind paying that price, then nothing's going to change. Because again, with the boycott thing, if so many people are happy to spend 70 quid on a game, then
it's going to catch on.
It's going to carry on.
And publishers will see others doing, and as we said before, because these publishers aren't happy making some money, they want to make all of the money. They'll up the prices. They'll put in these monetization systems that are designed to exploit you. And, it's just going to continue. Like, I know it sounds, I'm only in my early 20s, but God, I miss the days of the early Xbox 360, and even going further back than that, the PlayStation 2 era, where it was you'd have a video game and you'd just play it. God, I miss those days.
You say that, one of my favourite... I need to continue it, but I don't know why I'd stopped it. I think I've just got distracted by something. Yeah. One of my favourite games that I've been playing recently, within the past couple of months, was Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that is a game that came out in like 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
Because it was from that era. Literally no extra DLC, no extra content. There's like... because the actual release of it's really buggy. There's a modded, patched version and that kind of thing. But playing that, it's just been so refreshing, kind of going, all of the things in this game are unlockable in terms of like extra hidden secrets and stuff and that kind of thing. It's all hidden in there that I can get through gameplay rather than having to whip out a credit card.
Yeah, and it's that war, isn't it? That with obviously, I sorry to promote myself here a little bit, but on one of my most recent episodes of the Weekly News, reported that Masquerade Bloodlines 2, its developer has actually been taken off by the publisher. Now,
Oh.
it's worrying whether that will ever see the light of day. But if it does, I've got a horrible feeling it's going to be along the lines of having some kind of microtransaction, because that's just the way the industry is. Now, there is a chance that we may not. There's a chance we may see, an Outer Worlds style or an Outer Wilds style game where it's just the game and it's just a good RPG. But given this is the games industry in 2021, I've got a bad feeling.
So do I. I really, it's one of the games I really, really want it to be good. So badly I want it to be good. But at the same time, there's like a little bit in there that I feel like they're just going to pluck a bunch of the story content and all of that behind just meaningless DLC.
Yeah.
I should say I don't dislike story DLC. I do kind of like it. Like, if there's a main story there and like there's a big chunk of enjoyable content. So, like, I wouldn't mind if they came out with some story DLC for Red Dead 2, for example.
Well, personally, we know they'd never do that because Take-Two Interactive makes too much money from the microtransactions in GTA Online and, in fact, in Red Dead 2 Online.
Yeah.
But what I would say to that is that, personally, this is going to sound weird, I have, personally, stopped referring to story-based DLC as DLC. I personally refer to it how it used to be in the days of PC gaming, expansion packs. Because it's an expansion on the game.
Yeah.
You'd have, like, Half-Life had loads of expansion packs and loads of,
Yeah.
And that's the way that the Elder Scrolls,
stuff.
It's all, you pay, I think it was like 10 to 15 quid you used to have to pay. It's like it's gone up a bit in the modern times. But you
I think
pay
it's about 20 now.
Yeah, about that. You pay a similar, around that price, and then you get, usually kind of 6 hours of story expansions, and then you can replay the game with all the armaments and any other stuff that comes in the packs.
Yeah, it's what like they do with the Borderlands ones. Borderlands 3 is one that's it's kind of iffy on it, because they had the full version, which had first 4 expansion packs, I suppose, go for, which did offer a lot of content and like extra story stuff and were nice to play through.
Yeah.
Way better than the main story, because the main story of that game was shit. But they're now releasing more story DLC with a second season pass. And I'm like, but you promised I'd have all of this in the first one I bought.
Yeah.
And now you're doing more in a second?
Sounds like the new Rainbow Six stuff it all comes with you get a year pass.
Yeah.
You get a year season pass, year 1, year 2, year 3.
And then
that sets it for specific characters, but if you want any of the newer characters, you have to get the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one.
Mm-hmm. Or I was going to say, on top of that, we obviously we've seen a rise in battle passes because of stuff like Fortnite recently, where it's that kind of system. But I was going to say more so, it's like the like stuff like Telltale. When the Telltale games were out, and it was, I'll use the example that I played and thought it was all right. The Batman Telltale series. For that, you had the season pass, but then they came out with a sequel, which was the Telltale series Enemy Within. And it ended up, from what I recall, not like the season pass for that didn't cover the season pass for the first one didn't cover Enemy Within. So it's like they can just uppity and just go, we're going to release more content, but you're going to have to pay for it. I was going to say on the Borderlands thing, it's interesting with Borderlands, isn't it? Because the story. So we talked a couple of weeks ago, so on the first episode, about Borderlands 2 a little bit, obviously, because you mentioned you hated Borderlands 3. And you mentioned there about the DLC, and the one that always pops into my mind is the Tiny Tina's basically D&D RPG.
I loved that. That was my favourite DLC
expansion pack, and I thought that was fantastic. I'm like, I hope they do more stuff like that, because that was an actual and also I don't know if you know, the story behind that is so it's a little bit upsetting.
Oh yeah, no, I've played through it so many times. So many times I've played through that DLC. It is easily my favourite one.
Yeah, it's good.
I also another one I like, pre-sequels. The only one they had in the end, the Claptastic Voyage.
Oh, okay.
That is one of my favourite ones because it's really well done. Yeah, no, I love that one. But I was gonna say, with the Battle Pass thing you mentioned, actually.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, I prefer Battle Passes to standard microtransaction stuff.
Okay.
Especially in a free game. In a paid-for game, no. Get them battle passes out of there. In a free game, I don't mind it because it's something that I can work towards while just standardly playing the game, and it gives me a goal. So, like, if I play Smite's one of the ones I play quite a bit. If I'm just playing Smite as a standard, I'll maybe do, like, a couple of games if I'm on my own, or, like, some more if I'm playing with friends. But there's not as much there because I feel like I'm not working towards anything. It's just kind of mindless. But then if I have a battle pass and there's a part of the reward I want and I know it's easily achievable just through playing, I feel a lot more motivated to play the game, and I enjoy playing the game a lot more because I'm working towards something.
Yeah. I mean, I understand what you mean. My problem with battle passes is that Fortnite is, as we said, the main nowadays, at least.
The father, the mother,
the poster
great
child
Don
for
the Holy Ghost
for the battle pass system.
Days of Future Past, Ghosts of Future Past.
my big problem with them, okay, is the fact that, for example, the Fortnite ones, because they have different quote unquote seasons. It's like you've got 10 weeks to get all this stuff. Otherwise, it's gone unless you pay us more money. And then you've got to keep paying more money for these battle passes constantly to get the new stuff. And it's like, if you miss out on a couple of weeks, like, because I know you've got a life going on, then that's money you've wasted. And that, I hate that about the battle pass system.
Yeah, no, I get it with Fortnite's one a bit more because it's like, if for Fortnite it's like, if it's in the battle pass it will never appear again kind of thing. Smite and Paladin's actually both done by Hi-Rez, even though Hi-Rez aren't the best. They're known for more buggier games, but all the things that are contained in their battle passes they will re-release later. You will have to, it's still not the greatest because you will have to like pay gems or whatever it is for it if you miss it in the battle pass. But it's like, if you don't have the battle pass isn't the be all end all. If I miss this in the battle pass and I desperately want this thing, but I physically don't have the time to work towards it now, or like I don't want to buy this battle pass just for that cosmetic right at the very end because I don't like any of the other stuff, then you're kind of like, oh, okay, I know it's going to be released at some other point, so I don't have to buy this battle pass kind of thing.
Yeah.
So those ones I don't mind as much. So like, there's multiple Smite seasons where I haven't bothered buying the battle pass because I don't like anything in it, and still happily played the game, but just been like, I don't really feel like I like much in this pass, so I'll just skip it kind of thing. That's also why I don't mind them too much, because you don't have to pay for it if you don't like the stuff in it kind of thing.
Yeah, I got what you mean. I mean, it just depends, obviously, on the way it's implemented. I wanted to finish. I mentioned it. God, that was a bit of time ago. I wanted to finish on something a little bit more lighter because we've talked about a lot of the dark sides of the games industry. More of an interesting side I want to talk about now. Tom, you brought this to our attention a couple of days ago about a new console coming out in or set to release, at least all going well.
Is this the KFC one?
In October, called the Intellivision Amico. Now, you've done just a little bit of reading. You're more reading than we have. So could you tell us a little bit about it? Because there's a few things I wanted to touch on about it.
So from what I read, it wasn't actually... I went onto their website and it wasn't even very descriptive on their website.
Oh dear, that's not a good sign.
No.
Wonderful.
Basically, I mean, I think like a quarter of all the information that was on there that I read just denoted to why it had been set back. Because it was supposed to be released... November last year, November 2020, and they've pushed it back an entire year to being November 2021 for the release. Basically, it's supposed to be a family-friendly console. It comes with, like, the console itself, it's got two like dishes essentially on the, like, indents on the top, which the two controllers that come with it go in. The controllers are designed for a little bit like Wii remotes. They're like one in your hand, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Then it's got the old iPods that have got like the circular touchpad thing.
Oh yeah, I think I know.
It looks a little bit like an old iPod. It's got the weird circular thing. I think it spins. I don't think it's touch. But it said it's got a 64-point button point on it or whatever. So it's got a fancy HD touchscreen on the controller. and you can have something like up to 6 of these all connected to one console.
Okay.
The games it's running are going to be very specific. So mostly 2D or 2.5D, which is like 3D but in like a 2D space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys know what it is, right? Like,
Yeah.
Bit like the Assassin's Creed Chronicles stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plug.
Lots of kind of like old school type of style of games where you're not
Sort
going
of
too far
platformer
with
kind
the
of stuff.
platforms, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's they're mostly aiming to sort of family audiences. So it's going to be mostly I think they said there was going to be limited combat. There will be no blood or gore, nothing of sexual nature, no swearing, all of that. Basically, it's going to be probably one of the most bubble-wrapped, safe for children consoles ever.
Because I'm just reading here that it states that games must have exclusive features to the console and must be rated E or E10 plus by the ESRB or PEGI 3 or PEGI 7.
Yes.
So, as you say, a very bubble-wrapped, children's-friendly.
Yeah,
very bubble-wrapped. And
I already
also,
don't think this is going to go very well for them, not going to
No,
lie.
actually, I think if they market it to the right level, because actually, you can connect a smartphone to it as another controller.
Yeah.
Oh.
But smartphones will. I think they said something about it. You can use them as almost like an admin controller.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like the parent can be there and actually have more control over what's going on in the game to do with that sort of thing than it would be to be able to, than just a standard controller.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to go very... I would like it to, just to see where it goes, but considering how tightly wrapped that is, I don't think it's going to go very well for the simple fact of Nintendo exists.
Yeah. I mean... So I've a little bit more information on it just for clarity. So I've got some of the spec stuff that I've just found online. So it's running on an 8-core, 1.8 hertz Qualcomm Snapdragon CPU. It's got 2 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of flash storage with 1 micro SD card. Runs on HDMI out and runs off an Android Linux custom operating system. So it's very kind of...
Was it made with an Arduino board as well? This thing
like,
couldn't run a 3D game if it tried.
I know, it's something like the Ouya-esque system.
I don't think this is sounding worse and worse. I don't know specs very well, but it doesn't sound great.
Honestly, I think when I read it as well, it said something like they were going to be charging like £150 a console. Or something like it's going to be like considerably cheaper purely because of what it is.
Yeah, I've just seen the prices here. So introductory prices for different coloured versions. You've got the black and white versions are $250.
Oh.
And then different. So you've got a wood grain is going to be $280, and then a Galaxy Purple one is going to cost you $300.
They're making it out of wood. They're making a game console out of wood. What is this?
I know. It sounds like one of those really weird Kickstarter campaigns that's like promised too much.
It's like the KFC console, except the KFC console isn't just a fever dream anymore. It exists, or it's going.
I mean,
to
I'm
exist.
not sure. I'm waiting to see with that thing because I'm not entirely.
I mean, the
convinced.
KFC one, they're claiming that it's going to have a chicken warmer on it. Now, to me, I don't know about you guys, but to me, that just sounds like you're going to have your console stinking of chicken all the time, regardless of whether you've got chicken.
No, I've read into that. They showed the design. It was like you put the chicken in a cleanable and unslottable tray, and then it's heated from like the heat the console generates, and then so like no grease actually drips into the console because it's all in this removable tray.
I'm taking bets now. How long do you reckon the first one will survive before it explodes?
I give it a week.
Oh, you swine! I'd say 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Before the first one fails.
I'm more interested in the KFC console than I am I can't even remember its name.
It's that model, yeah.
Well, I mean,
the Amico.
It's new, isn't it? It's a new thing. So
it's because if the newer console had have been going out as like a competitor to Xbox and PlayStation, it would have been hard, but especially if they'd have done some clever things with the pricing and the tech it came with, and then already had like games that could get released on it, then I reckon it would have done considerably well, maybe, like hit or miss perhaps, but it would have eventually found its feet. But then you've got a console that's coming out that's so incredibly restricted on what it can release, not just in terms of age rating, but also style.
Yeah,
so
the
like
type of
2D
games,
to 2.5. And like to me, a 150 price tag seems very steep for that.
Yeah.
When I could again
Get an
Nintendo or get an iPad. That's mobile games, but like if I wanted to do more seriously, I could get not even a Switch because that's 270.
The Switch Lite is like
the Switch Lite 210, 200, 210, I think it is.
Something like that. Yeah.
So for an extra
Actually,
50, 60
quid,
quid,
like 180 quid, I think now.
Oh, fair enough. But yeah, no, for like an extra between then 30 to 60 quid, I would get a Switch.
I mean, I think we should also note that. So again, I've just read a bit more. You know, we're learning more about this as we do this. So downloadable games via their shop will cost $9.99 or less at launch, with more expensive games for less than $40. Now, they say their goal is to return to family gaming and couch co-op among people of the same location. Now, as you say, like that is like upwards of $40. Like that could be a hell of a lot for stuff that like could, like it says 3D games are allowed, but like it's very unlikely that they're actually going to be able to achieve that. Like $40
put Halo
2D
Wars
title.
1 on there and I'll play it.
And again, you could just buy a Switch.
Yeah.
Which comes with they kind of monopolize the. I think there was a reason PlayStation stopped doing the.
You're
handhelds
missing something here.
What?
You're missing something here.
What?
What are we
There's
missing?
one thing that this console can do that the Switch can't.
Connect with phones?
It's made out of wood, mate.
Well, you never know. They could be releasing a third-party dock that's like, I don't know,
made of
Yoshi themed or something that's wood.
Yeah.
That would technically
Toad
be
themed, made out of mushrooms.
Yeah. No, but I was going to say, like, the thing with this is, you know, you mentioned Nintendo there, Jack, and it's an interesting point because, you know, the reason I brought this up is because I wanted to have a discussion to finish the show.
Yeah.
About I'm not going to say the difficulties that new companies trying to release home consoles have, because of course you've got the establishment of the console, like you've got Nintendo, who do a very interesting mix. Of course, the Wii and the Wii U were very kid oriented. The Switch has found that perfect middle ground, which is why it's succeeding. Of course, you've got the PlayStation and the Xbox, which are, you know, have sections of them which are more for the core gaming audience, and then they've got, you know, but they also have a large backlog of titles that are aimed at the enthusiast gamer. So something like this, as you say, like $250, that's what, 150 to 200 quid. That's a lot of money for an iOS based an Android system that, you know, it's a novel and admirable attempt to try and get us back to the family friendly couch gaming. But I'm afraid the internet has just made that side of the industry redundant. Like, there's no need to be on the same couch when we can, like, you know, even stuff like Jackbox, we can literally, you know, we can all be sat in our different rooms with a voice chat, you know, playing Jackbox.
Or like next to each other if you wanted to.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that like there's no need for couch stuff when you can just do it over the internet, like in like all over the world.
I'd say the couch thing does, or sofa, I'm gonna say, the sofa couch thing, as it does still have an appeal to me, because it is like, if you're like, you got a few mates around, then you want to play something like that. But then again, I'd use a game that still has split screen. So like one of the Jackabox thing, or like even the phone thing, like I'd play a Jackabox maybe, and like we're all sat in the same room, or I'd play something like Smash. But I wouldn't buy a separate console just for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because it's, as you said with online, its time has kind of passed.
And also,
the day of the sofa couch co-op has gone for the most part.
Yeah. And what I would also say is that, you know, this isn't the first time we've seen a new company step in and try and like release a new console. You know, we've seen it with the Ouya, we've seen it with God knows how many failed consoles that have entered the market in a time where, you know, as we said, you know, the three big players are cemented. You know, Nintendo may have completely dropped the ball with the Wii U, but they then picked it back up with the Switch. You know, PlayStation or Sony, sorry, to a certain extent, you know, they dominated with the PlayStation 2. They, to a certain extent, with a number of factors, dropped the ball when it came to the PlayStation 3. They then picked it back up with the PS4. Microsoft did the flip side. They, you know, it was unexpected success with the Xbox 360 after a decent showing from the original Xbox. But then with the Xbox One, there were so many issues they caused themselves before the console even launched that more players switched to the PlayStation. And it's like, even then, like, we may see in this generation with the Xbox Series X and S and the PlayStation 5 that, you know, we've already seen that Nintendo are starting to get rid of their DS stuff and more focus on the Switch, which is a go-between console, and it's a big success. You know, I love my Switch.
I really want to get a Switch. The only thing that's still putting me off at the moment is the $270 price tag.
Yeah,
I don't want to get a Switch Lite because I want the TV part of it as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are places. I think I got mine for $230. I think with a game included. Yeah. And you know, it's a brilliant little system. And you know, and I was going to say, with regard to the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S, you know, obviously at the moment there's a problem with the supply of them, like how many there are. But maybe we'll see a flip again, like we did with the previous generation, where we'll see Sony blunder about and Microsoft get back into it. And then, you know, because Microsoft have bought so many studios, maybe we'll see them, you know, have a quality lineup of games. But you just don't know. And that's what I'm saying is, I know I've rambled for quite a bit, but, you know, it's the peaks and troughs of the console market that, from the big three, that make it almost impossible for a new company to step in and go, you know, we want to release a new console that is tailored to this very specific market, like, and it ends up being the death of them.
I think the only thing that you can go in with is VR. If someone made a console that was exclusively designed and made to run VR games like perfectly, and it only did VR and like came with a headset and stuff, I feel like that's the only way they'd take off. Even though there are VR things out there, something that's full VR focused, I think would be a way to
perhaps.
go.
The Oculus Quest 2 that's just come out. The Oculus Quest series, I think, is a whole thing. You can connect them to PCs, but actually they're an independent thing. They can run on themselves. They don't need connection to any exterior port.
I think the new Vive series is also quite similar, in which it doesn't need any wires and can just be connected to stuff without obviously also going through the PC.
Yeah. I think stuff like that, because at the moment the three main brands, Sony, Microsoft and Nintendo, they have their markets down.
Yeah.
Like Xbox and Microsoft, I think, are still going for a little bit more entertainment / games console mix, if I'm not mistaken. PlayStation are going like full on hardcore gaming, like for the gamers thing, and Nintendo's very in with the handheld for everyone market. And I think that's why they PlayStation dropped the Vita and like their handhelds in the end, because they were like, Switch. The Switch exists, Nintendo's won, let's just focus on what we do well. And like they've all sort of got their own markets. They're competing against each other, but they've all got their own specialities. So you'd have to find something that one of the big names doesn't already specialize in. And that, I think, at the moment is VR. I
mean, it's a similar reason, you know, why we saw Atari. Obviously, Atari did have monetary trouble, but they had to drop out of the console market. You know, Sega had to drop out of the console market because, you know, the
Sega Mega Drive,
the Dreamcast was such a resounding failure that there was no real way back for them. We've seen like the number of console manufacturers that have died, that have suffered horribly in the market, is a lot longer than those that have succeeded.
Yeah, because we have to remember this goes back to like the 80s.
Yeah.
Like, this is the ones that are standing now are the ones that have stood the test of time, so that makes it even harder to get up off the ground.
I mean, what I would say is that I would say the one that has lasted for test and is Nintendo, because Nintendo have been making consoles for a while.
True.
Sony came about because of a collapsed deal alongside Nintendo. That's why they created the PlayStation. Microsoft came about because I think Microsoft were trying to make a console with... No, if I remember rightly, Microsoft came about on making the Xbox because they saw Sony's market dominance and wanted to muscle in and take some of their capital or their share of the market.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a reason they've all kind of become the biggest players. You never know. We might get to a point where we could see, I don't know, I'll use an example like Microsoft go, actually, we've got the Windows platform, we've got all that stuff, we've got pretty much a dominance over PCs. And, the Macs have a small percentage. Maybe we'll kind of like drop out of the console stream, and maybe it'll just be down to Sony and Nintendo, or maybe it'll be left with these three until the end of the gaming market.
It wouldn't surprise me if Microsoft did drop out, to be honest, because already with I know we're running on a bit here, so I'll try and make this quick. Yeah, they already have like all of their games, especially the ones on Game Pass, they're playable on PC and Microsoft and Xbox.
Yeah.
So like, one of the things for me as a PlayStation owner and I suppose fanboy to an extent, like PlayStation loyalist, woo. I don't ever see the name to buy any Xbox product ever, like console-wise, because I have a PC. And if there's ever an Xbox exclusive that I want to play, or like a PC Xbox exclusive, like Sea of Thieves, I could just play it on my PC. I don't need an Xbox.
Yeah.
But PlayStation still have that thing of their exclusives where you can only play this on a PlayStation kind of thing.
It's an interesting point because I've always thought that, because Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo more and more recently have been working together. And, obviously there was the Minecraft going over and, the accounts and all that kind of stuff. And Sony have been very, very hesitant to kind of jump on board with that, which they've been criticised for, and I think justifiably, not doing what's best for their players. But at the same time,
they have jumped on it more now. That was a while back. They're a lot more.
It wasn't a while, but
it
was about a year and a half ago that happened.
It's still a while back.
No, but what I'm saying is it's still recent history. Just a while back is like a decade ago. But what I mean is that, but to a certain extent, you're right. Is that kind of hesitancy to work with the other manufacturers is kind of working in their favour because, as you say, Game Pass is available on the PC. It's not got as wide a range of titles yet, but
it's like PlayStation's decision, as questionable as it was with the cross-platform thing, it made sense. They have the dominance of the player base, and opening that up to platform, they were scared of losing a lot of that, which from a business perspective, I fully understand. From a player's perspective of wanting to play with people on other platforms, it sucks. Or at the time, now because it's available, it's fine.
Yeah.
But at the time, it kind of was a big decision for Sony to make. It's like, do we potentially lose our dominating player base, or like drop it by allowing this to happen?
I also wonder
I do get it. I do get where they're coming from, especially with their exclusives as well, like keeping those they want.
Yeah, I also wonder if it's like because Sony have themselves had quite a few of their ventures into other parts of the market not go well for them. Let's say
television and mobile have done well.
Yeah, I wouldn't say mobile there, but I barely see any Sony mobile phones anywhere anymore. No, but I mean it's more like stuff like the Walkman. The Walkman died horribly because it tried to compete with Apple. But what I'm saying is that. What I mean to say, is that with Microsoft, they had a success with Windows. As I said, they are the dominant force in the operating system world. Pretty much everything that isn't a Mac or an Apple product uses Microsoft as a base.
Yeah.
Or uses Windows, I should say, as a base. But with regard to Sony, they have seemed to not entirely, but a decent amount focus in on the console game, on the video game boom. So I wonder if it's I wonder if you're right in terms of their attitude is kind of like this is where most of our eggs are in this basket. And Microsoft are overthinking, well, we've kind of got like most of our eggs actually still in Windows, but we're doing the Microsoft thing because we think because it's a way to get the Microsoft stuff out there. It'll be interesting to see. But with that, I think we've reached the end of this week's episode. Thank you for joining me, gents.
As always.
we'll do the usual self-promotions. Tom, as we mentioned, you did a stream yesterday as we're recording this. Do you want to just plug everything basically you've got?
Well,
my god, that was loud.
Yeah, sorry. I started a Twitter account. I thought since Jack's done it, I might as well have one myself.
Join the bandwagon.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much on every social media now under Griff's X Blues. Apart from YouTube, for some reason, it won't give me my custom URL. But
damn you, YouTube!
Yeah. All the links for my stuff's below. There's too much to list. But I'm doing gameplay stuff on my channel. I'm doing live streams, and I'm doing this.
Woo! Indeed. Yeah, so catch them on Patreon if you want to, if you're very, very, very generous and would like to support his
pay me money,
his animation projects. He's on Twitch, he's on YouTube, he's on Facebook and Twitter. The latter two for any updates on his goings on. Jack, anything from you, mate? I know obviously, as Tom mentioned, you set up a Twitter account for the last episode.
I actually made one now after I said I would the last episode. So that I haven't posted anything, but it exists, so that's a start.
Yeah.
I've also got Twitch that I've semi-started streaming on again. Still trying to work out the bearings of that because I'm mainly doing it from my console at the moment. And PS4 Twitch ain't the best, but it's a thing.
Yeah.
I think I made a Patreon at one point. I think I released that. If I have, I'll plop that in there. If you fancy, I think I put a piss take out in there somewhere as well. If anyone wants to do that one, go for it. But no, genuinely, any of that kind of stuff is very nice and helpful and stuff because money is necessary for the world because capitalism. But and I have a YouTube I'll be sorting out that has no videos on it at the moment. So if you want to follow any of my things that don't really have much content, they're linked in the description below.
All the links
and
will
hopefully
be
they
below.
get more. Yep. They will hopefully get more content soon.
They better do, otherwise it's a waste of time me putting it in there, lad.
That is true. They will be getting content soon. I did stream a couple of days ago, actually. Yeah.
You didn't invite me.
You don't have a PlayStation.
That's bad form, lad. Not even the chat.
I would have, but PlayStation. I should do I should do a few PC streams maybe. Cause...
I mean, I think we should do that. Sea of Thieves idea.
We should totally stream Sea of Thieves. That'd be cool.
Join me and Jack for a stream on Sea of Thieves at some point.
At some point, we will stream Sea of Thieves on our respective channels.
Given the fact that this one's probably going out around the 6th of April.
We'd have probably already done it by then.
We would have probably already done it. So if you look back on my channel,
yeah,
or on Jack's channel, there will be past streams of the Once Upon a Time Sea of Thieves stream that we haven't done at time of recording, but will have done by the time of release.
Yeah, there might be more afterwards. Who knows? Depends.
My favourite thing is you're
it.
basically promising to do this by putting it on the record.
Oh yeah, bollocks.
Well, now we've got to find time to do it, but we'll do it.
Yeah. I mean, I've got all the time in the world, basically.
What about you, Sam?
That's my stuff. Sam, yes, you plug you.
So you can follow me on twitter.com /Wilbur_99. I've said over the past 2 episodes that I do wannabe games journalism. I'm actually going to do that at some point, especially after this discussion has got me a bit riled up. That's also for football, politics, wrestling, any of my thoughts on that kind of stuff. Do follow me there if you could,
politics,
please. Hey, you know me. YouTube, if you want to check me out, I've got my weekly roundup of the week's gaming news. That's bloody brilliant games. That'll be linked in the description below. Also will be my Football Manager channel, the Football Network. That'll also be linked below. That's pretty much everything, I think. Yeah. I haven't got anything else. I'm not a Twitch streamer like these two. I don't have a Patreon because I'm not after your money, unlike them. Please support me.
Give us your money, please.
Money.
But with that, thank you very much for listening to this episode. Any comments and thoughts on the podcast is always welcome. And if you've come here after watching or listening to the other 2 episodes, thank you very much. We greatly support just the views on these podcasts. We greatly appreciate. But from us here at the How to World Up podcast, from me, Sam, Tom, and Jack, we shall see you in 2 weeks' time for another episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.